Audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Am I visible?
No, sir.
All right. Good to see that you guys are active and your eyes are open. Just allow me a second. Is the screen visible, friends?
No,
sir.
All right. Let me know if it is visible now.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, which cricketer is this, by the way?
Mohammed Siraj.
If you don't know this, then it's okay. Nothing really high funda. Go home, Google later. As simple as that. All right. So, do you know from what background does he come? Do you know from what background he comes? Quite an interesting story. Will not take much time because this is revision session. Goes unsaid. It is supposed to be a revision. All right. So, before I start off with the plot, let me quickly give you a good morning. Bangalore weather is amazing. Streets filled with water, unlike your soul. So you have to fill your soul with the subject. That's the only objective for next 2 hours. All right. So good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well, all safe and sound. Yes, and sane at the same time, because there are so many subjects which are keeping you occupied. Don't lose out your sanity, which most of you in a couple of days might lose. Don't worry. Relax. Let's get started. Really good to see each one of you on screen. I insist you guys to keep your cameras on for the next 2 hours. After that, even if you don't, it's your wish. So next 2 hours, keep your cameras on. Let's get started. Let's get closer to our dream. But before that, one interesting thing to note about this guy on your screen. All right. I'm talking about the one on the left side, Siraj. Yes. So Mohammed Siraj is a son of an auto driver. All right. Most of us didn't know. You might have seen him playing with a Byju's t-shirt on himself. Yes, which is nothing but your Indian jersey. But keeping that aside, how did he even reach there? A son of an auto driver ensured that he plays cricket somehow every day. Every day, 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evening after a tiring day. 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evening after getting back home. And for the first time, he was selected in 2017 by Sunrisers Hyderabad at a price of 2.3 crores. His performance was such that his background never stopped him. And he plays for the world's first leading team called India. And he is one of the most renowned bowlers for his spell. All right. So those of you who didn't understand, nothing I funda, he's just an inspirational story for us to remember. Let's get started with revision session. All right. So I hope the screen's visible. Will not take much time. I hope you guys have your revision material in hand. Yes, no. Is it a hard copy? Each one of you are having your hard copies. November 22 attempt. Yes, Anaga, Pratibha, Pavan, quickly there in the session. Sagar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Respond. All right. So before I get started, good morning, everyone. Next 2 hours, keep aside all your problems. I'm sure you are done with your accounting revision. You're done with your mock test. Might have performed well, might not have performed well. Absolutely normal. Relax, chill. Nothing high funda. Those are mock exams. They have just mocked at you. The second thing is, when it comes to your costing paper, of course, you might have your own burden which you're carrying. Keep that aside. Next 2 hours, friends, we are going to give 120% to our goal on law. Nothing before, nothing after that. We are going to ensure that we are going to give our 2 hours, the best of the best 2 hours, in ensuring that we take the first step towards our revision. Can I begin? Yes? No? Wow.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Amazing weather, 6:30 in the morning, inspirational stories. Upon that, I can still find people yawning. It's okay. I understand. Let's get started. Before I start yawning, don't want to take the chance. All right. So revision material 22 updated. So what we have done is this material, we have made it in such a way that it compiles your complete subject in 51 sheets. All right. In 51 pages, your entire volume has been covered. Goes unsaid. It is a revision material. Can't expect details here. All right. This is to quickly give you a glimpse within 51 minutes, spending 1 minute on each of the sections. We are going to do 2 things in today's session. 2 hours. We're going to divide this in 1.5 hours. We're going to first spend on ensuring we go through the entire 51 minutes or rather 51 pages here. All right. And then the last half an hour, I'm going to quickly give you a couple of tips. What do you have to do for preparing for this paper and other papers at the same time, and ensure how you are sane throughout this next 2 months. All right. Most of you genuinely look as if you are sitting with the burden of 8 different papers. Please, for now, keep aside everything. It has to be a PVR show. You don't have to do anything. It is a PVR show. All that you have to do is focus on the screen, which is your big screen on screen. Let's get started. All right. So this is the material that we're going to use. Revision material, November 22 attempt, goes unset. It's a quick summary of your entire Companies Act. All right. Wherein we begin first with Companies Act. The first 45 minutes we're going to spend on revising the entire chapter or entire subject on Companies Act. All right. Whatever is there from your syllabus perspective. So the first thing is your chapter 1 called preliminary. We're going to use this as dictionary, like always discussed. It has to be used like your dictionary. Important thing that you will have to remember here is note. There is a section called as 464 in this section. All right. In this chapter, you have a section. I'm not going exactly in the sequence of section numbers reflecting on screen. I will be adding some of the other sections as well as and when required. So pay attention. All right. So in this chapter, we're going to use this chapter primarily to revise our foundation syllabus. All right. Second thing is to ensure that we are aware of a couple of definitions. How you're going to read this chapter as and when you're reading other chapters, and if you come across any particular topic, you're going to ensure that you go flip through this chapter and finish it. All right. Don't spend exhaustive time on this chapter exclusively. Not required. Not required. Read everything except for definitions. Definitions you have to read as and when you're reading other chapters. All right. As and when you're reading other chapters, you come across a phrase called, say, small company. Now, what is small company? Go immediately to the first chapter, read that, come back. Don't spend exclusive time on reading only 95 definitions which are there together, because you will go mad. You will go mad. Understanding? Yes. So don't do that mistake. Not required. So the first section is short title, commencement and extent. This act is effective from 1st April 2014. This act talks about the applicability. It is applicable to all the companies, including your insurance company, banking company, your companies engaged in generation or supply of electricity. Don't see anywhere. It has to be on screen, your eyes, and focus. Next, this act clearly says, in case if there is any inconsistency with the respective act between your insurance, between your banking, and between your electricity act, then you're going to follow those respective acts in case of inconsistency. Is Companies Act applicable? 110%. Yes, it is applicable to these companies as well, unless and until there is any inconsistency. Now, this is what section 1 is talking about. Section 2 is talking about definitions. 95 definitions goes unsaid. It is not 95 number. It is the 95 sub clauses in section 2. All right. There are section 2 clause 95 is the last definition section. Illegal association, which is covered under section 464. Section 464 is talking about how many people can I have in case of a group of association. If I want to do a business as a partnership firm, can I have 600 people? Same example. All right. Let's assume I want to do a business with 600 partners. Can I do so? Answer is no. Answer is no. If at all you're going to carry on any business with an association of people, then the number should not exceed 50. No, sir, I will do it. Congratulations. Go ahead and do it. It will be called as an illegal association. The moment it is an illegal association, it is void ab initio, it is null and void. All right. Very important thing. In case if you are entering into any contract, it will not be considered as a contract. You cannot sue any member or an outsider. An outsider cannot sue you. Very important thing. Can this be wound up? The answer is no, it cannot be wound up, because when something never took birth, how can it die? As simple as that. All right. Now, are there exceptions? Yes. HUF is the first exception. Second one, very important, association which is carried on by professionals is an exception. Third exception is your LLPs. All right. LLPs are not covered within the ambit of your section 464. So in examination, if you have a question, LLP wants to carry on with 600 partners. Can it do so? 110%. Yes, it can do so. Section 464 will not get triggered. I hope I'm clear, everyone. Deepa, on screen, everyone. All right. There's a reason why I project. Chapter 2 is incorporation of companies and matters. All right. So first section is section 3, which talks about mode of forming a company. Very important. Section 3 is telling, sir, if you are an OPC, minimum 1 member required. Correct? Those of you nodding, you'll have to understand, even now, if we are making mistakes, when are we going to correct ourselves? All right. 100% focus. In case of OPC, Only one person can become a member. Private company, minimum 2, public company, 7. All of these guys are going to subscribe to your MOA and they are called as the subscribers to MOA. The companies can be of 3 types. It can be a company limited by share, company limited by guarantee, and unlimited company. Example for company limited by share, Infosys. Company limited by guarantee, it is your Mysore Silk Udyog, or it could be your Karnataka Silk Emporium. If you remember, same examples. I'm not even changing my examples. Unlimited company, Amway. Then section 3A deals with members severally liable in certain cases. What is this section talking about? Congratulations, there's a reduction in the number which is being prescribed under section 3. All right. Once upon a time, Mr. XYZ, it is a public company, XYZ Limited. The members are X, Y, Z, and couple of other members as well, because minimum is 7. I'm talking about a public company. Don't forget. All right. Let's assume the number fell below 7. No problem. Ensure that you get those minimum number of members at the earliest possible. No, sir, I forgot. All right, no problem. 6 months I've given. After 6 months also, if you're not able to get those minimum number of members, no problem. Whatever business you have done, all the debts and liabilities will become yours and you will become severally liable. What is the meaning of the word severally liable? Sell your kidney, sell yourself, do whatever you can, bring in the money. As simple as that. All right, understanding? So this is the concept of section 3A. Then we went on to understand the concept of section 4, which deals with your memorandum. Now, what is memorandum talking about? Only 6 clauses. What is the mnemonic? We use the mnemonic no class. We use the mnemonic no class. Name clause, object clause, capital clause, liability clause, association, and situation clause. Situation is nothing but your state clause. Now, what are these clauses talking about? Name clause talks about name. All right. If you are an OPC, what should be your name? Whatever your name is, I don't care. Within brackets, you have to write 1% company. Don't forget basics. All right. Then object clause has to be exhaustive. No, sir, I forgot to. I'm a software company. I forgot to mention that I'll do real estate business also. And I went ahead and did real estate business. What is it going to be? Doctrine of ultra-vires, CA Foundation, CAM faculty might have taught. Then capital clause is your clause which talks about how much is your authorized capital, registered capital, nominal capital. It's one and the same. Don't get confused. All right. Then liability clause is what type of liability are you having? Limited by shares, limited by guarantee. Are you an unlimited company? What type of liability is it? Association clause talks about your what exactly are the details of your subscribers. Whoever are your subscribers, please give the details of that. And then S stands for your state clause or situation clause. It talks about, sir, where exactly are you from? Are you from Rajasthan? Are you from Maharashtra? Are you from Telangana? Are you from Andhra Pradesh? Which part of the country are you from? Please give the details of this. Now, this is what your MOA talks about. Next, articles. Articles goes unsaid. It is your articles of association under section 5. It talks about how are you going to run the business. This is captured. The features or the details of this, the formats are covered in form or table F, G, H, I, J. So why do we have 5 forms or 5 tables? Because it is based on the type of company. If you're limited by shares, limited by guarantee, and a couple of the varieties which are covered here. Now, what will be asked in examination is entrenchment provision. 100% focus. We are talking about entrenchment of articles of association. Now, what is this entrenchment, sir? Sir, let's assume law says you have to get a particular thing cleared. A particular resolution has to be passed. Just pass an ordinary resolution. No problem. Rahul's company says, no, sir, we follow extremely high standards. Congratulations. We don't want ordinary resolutions. We want to pass special resolution. Can I pass? Pass. No one is going to stop you. If you are following something more than what the law is requiring, if you are making your own provisions a little more stricter, then what can you do? Please go ahead and change your articles of association. But can you do it blindly? The answer is no. You will have to take unanimous resolution in case. If you are a private company, don't forget all the members means unanimous resolution is required. Don't forget 100% focus. It is unanimous resolution. When it comes to a public company, a special resolution has to be passed. Understood, everyone? Yes. Whenever you want to entrench the provision, you can go ahead and do so, but you will have to take the unanimous resolution in case of private company. And when it comes to your public company, special resolution. I'm expecting this in examination. I'm expecting this in examination. 100% focus. Can I continue? Yes. Next. Section 6 talks about act to override your MOA and AOA. Ramya says, sir, act is asking me to do XYZ, but I'm born to do something beyond XYZ. I am not going to follow what the act says. No problem, Ramya. You can go ahead and mention whatever you want in your MOA and AOA. If it is overriding, if it is going beyond what the act is saying, it will be considered as null and void. As simple as that. Nothing really high funda. All right. Section 7 talks about incorporation of companies. Now, what is this section talking about? Sir, whenever there are any companies, you will have to follow the procedure which has been laid down for incorporation. Very important thing. Sir, by mistake, I gave false information. Whether it is by mistake or whether it is on purpose, Our BAP is standing there, and our BAP is called as section 447, one of the most dangerous sections, which talks about your liability. All right. The penalty is going to be covered under section 447 by mistake if you give any false information. Understanding, everyone? Yes. Now, this section also talks about if tribunal is satisfied that the company is formed for fraudulent purposes, then it can ask for winding up. Extremely important. If it is found that, sir, you've incorporated, Pratiksha has started a company, but she knows I've started the company only to commit frauds. No problem, Pratiksha, please go ahead and carry on your business. But the whole point is, tribunal can pass an order to wind up your company once for all completely. Understood, everyone? Yes. Then we went on to understand section 8 from examination perspective. Section 8 is extremely important. All right. Formation of companies with charitable objects. What is this? The title is extremely important. Formation of companies. Don't use the word non-profit organization, NGOs and all of that. Section 8 companies are not that. Extremely important. I've seen students using section 8 NGOs, section 8 NPOs. Don't create, for God's sake, your own titles. Understanding? Yes. So it is formation of companies with charitable objects. Very simple. This section talks about what type of companies. These are the only exceptions where companies can be formed without profit motive, or else every company must have profit motive. Simple. Second point. Whatever profit you arrive or whatever profit you are getting during a year, you have to use it for your charitable purpose. Deepa says, no, sir, we will give dividend. Congratulations. The moment you give dividend, you're breaching section 8. You're breaching section 8. You're no more a section 8 company. Understanding? So third point, if you are a section 8 company, you don't have to use the words limited or private limited in your name. Are these questions, sir, who is going to give me this entire title of section 8 company? It will be given by central government, but central government has better things to do in life. So they've delegated this responsibility to our daddy, and our daddy is your registrar of companies. As simple as that. All right, sir, I breached the conditions. What will happen? Your license will be revoked. Who's going to revoke the license? Your central government is going to revoke the license. Sir, what will happen if the license is revoked? Nothing, I fund. You're as good as another company. Shut up and start using the word limited and private limited after your name. As simple as that. Understood? Yes. Then we went on to understand section 9, which talks about effect of registration. Congratulations, you've taken birth. Now what? Whatever features we have learned a company can have: corporate separate legal entity, perpetual succession, limited liability, company is an artificial person, company is not a citizen, company is having a nationality, company is going to have a residence. All those characteristics that we had learned long back, first chapter, those will come into picture. As simple as that. All right. Then section 10 talks about effect of MOA and AOA. Whatever is mentioned in MOA and AOA in itself is as good as a contract between the company and its outsiders as well as the members. All right. So the moment someone is going to give an effect of MOA and AOA, it is as good as a contract. Example, Pratiksha says, sir, I don't follow whatever is given in the MOA, though she's a member. All right. Though she is a member, let's assume in the articles of association they've given, Pratiksha has to give her first call money of 6 rupees, second call 3 rupees, final call 1 rupee. I hope you're understanding, everyone. Yes. Now, Pratiksha says, sir, I will not follow first call, I will give 5 rupees. Law says, sir, please note, the moment an articles of association is into picture, it is as good as a contract between company and its members. No second thought at all. All right. So Pratiksha is bound by this contract, because it is a part of your MOA and AOA. Now, this is what section 10 has to say. Section 10A talks about commencement of business. Now, very important, Dhruvi says, sir, I have got my incorporation certificate. Can I start business immediately? Law says no. You cannot start your business. You cannot start your business immediately. You will have to file something called as, you will require something called a certificate of commencement of business. Now, who's going to give this certificate? It will be given by a daddy who's none other than your registrar. But when is he going to give? He's going to give this provided you satisfy 2 important things. First one, do you have your registered office or not? Did you get one detail of your registered office or not? Second thing, you have to ensure all the directors, whoever have subscribed, have paid the money. Do you remember the same example that I had given? Why this was important? Why section 10A came into picture? Because Kolkata office, 1 building, 3,000 offices. Do you remember? Same example that I'm quoting. That's why section 10A becomes extremely important. Enjoying, friends? Yes, I'm sure you might not be able to remember everything at the first instance, but the moment I discuss, I am confident that you'll be able to recollect. Don't worry. All right, let's continue. So this is about your section 10A. Then section 11 is omitted. Section 12 talks about your registered office of company. All right. What is section 12 talking about? Section 12 talks about where your registered office should be. how you have to go about with your business. Can you change your registered office from one state to another, from one city to another city, from within the local limits? Do you remember? If it is from one state to another state, should I change my MOA? 100% yes. You will have to change your MOA. Why? Because in the MOA, you have a situation clause or state clause. Example, let's assume Chandan's business was in Telangana. Suddenly he realized that now he is no more in Telangana. It's a part of Andhra Pradesh itself. So he will have to change his MOA. Goes unsaid. As simple as that. All right. Rather, it should be vice versa. He was in Andhra Pradesh. Suddenly he realized that he's in Telangana. All right. Those of you who didn't understand, something called as history, you can read later. All right. So this is about your registered office. Section 13 talks about alteration of MOA. Section 13 is important from exam perspective. 100% you'll have to read and go for the examination. Don't enter the examination hall without section 13. It talks about how to change your MOA. Sir, can I change my name clause? Yes, you can. Today I am Mehul Jain. Tomorrow I want to become Rahul Jain. Assume. All right. Now Rahul, control. So in case if I want to change, or rather, let me give his example. Today it is Rahul Jain Private Limited. Tomorrow he wants to become Mehul Jain Private Limited. I'll not give the permission. Nevertheless, let's assume he wants to go ahead. Can he do so? Yes, he can. Name clause can be changed. Object clause can be changed. Capital clause can be changed. Liability clause can be changed. Situation clause can be changed. Sir, you forgot something. Association clause. Can I change my association clause? Use your top floors. The first person who stepped on moon was that person only till your great grandchildren are reading this subject. All right, it will not change. The same way, association clause is your clause which talks about your first subscribers. Can the first subscribers change for the company? Sir, the answer is no. How can the first subscribers change? It's as good as Neil Armstrong has not done anything in life. Why? Because yesterday he was first man who stepped on moon, and today your answers are changing. Can it change? The answer is no. I hope I'm clear, everyone. Extremely important. They will ask these kind of MCQs are not about Neil Armstrong. They will ask, can an association clause be changed? Next, section 14 talks about your articles of alteration of articles of association. Can I alter my articles of association? Go ahead and alter your articles of association by passing a special resolution. Please note, whenever I want to alter anything in my MOA and AOA, a special resolution is required. I repeat, special resolution is required whenever you're altering. Simple. How do you remember in examination? Whenever you're touching, same example that I've given, this is your balance sheet. Whenever you're touching anything to do with your capital, anything you're doing in your capital, reduction of capital, increase of capital, change in your capital, whatever you do with capital, special resolution chahiye. Special resolution chahiye. Understanding, Shweta, Skanda? Yes. So the next point that you have to remember is any alteration to MOA and AOA, special resolution is must and should. All right. There are a few exceptions. Example, change in my office within the city. Should I take a special resolution? For God's sake, no. No, not required. Yesterday I was in Rajaji Nagar. Today I want to go to Basveshwar Nagar. Can I go? Answer is yes. It is within the city. For those of you who aren't understanding, it is a part of Bangalore itself. All right. So this is about your alteration of MOA and AOA. Then section 15 talks about alteration of MOA or AOA to be noted in every copy. Whenever there is any alteration, you have to ensure that your copies, next time whenever you're submitting or issuing any sort of MOA or AOA, you're giving any copy of MOA and AOA to anyone, you have to bring in the details of changes which has been made. Very simple, nothing high funda. All right. Section 16 talks about rectification of name. Deepa Private Limited is a company, assume. All right. Suddenly someone sitting outside. All right. Let's assume he's sitting in Assam. Good tea, green tea is drinking, and suddenly he realized that someone is using his company's name, which was incorporated 20 years back. In 1920 itself, rather in 2000 itself, he had incorporated a company called as Deepa Private Limited. Now in Bangalore, Deepa started her own company called as Deepa Private Limited. There is an inconsistency in the name. Someone is using someone else's name. Is it acceptable? Answer is no. Is it acceptable? Answer is no. So 100% focus. Rectification of name, you can go ahead and ordinary resolution with central government approval, you can go ahead and make. If name resembles or is identical to other companies, central government will pass an order for rectification within 15 days of a change of the company to inform your registrar to issue or change the certificate of incorporation. As simple as that. All right. Section 17 talks about copies of MOA and AOA to be given to the members. Whenever any member is asking for a copy of MOA and AOA, company has to give a copy of it. No, sir, we forgot. It's okay. Nothing high funda. There's the penalty of 1,000 rupees every day. Very simple, very little. It's as much as our pocket money and stipend of 1 month. Next, conversion of companies already registered. All right. Can I convert a company which is already registered? Yesterday private company, today public company. Yesterday OPC, today private company. Yesterday OPC, today public company. Yesterday OPC, Section 8 company. Not possible. Not possible. Not possible. Listen. Can a public company be converted into private company? Yes. Can a private company be converted into public company? Yes. Can an OPC be converted into private company? Yes. Can an OPC be converted into public company? Yes. 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 Can an OPC be converted into public company? Yes. Can an OPC be converted into Section 8 company? No. No. Are you guys understanding? Yes. So extremely important from exam perspective. Again, there is a procedure which they have laid down, and your section 18 deals with this. You will have to alter your MOA and AOA, and an effect of this conversion has to be given. All right. In detail, we have a chart in the fag end. We are going to come back to that later on. Now, section 19 talks about subsidiary cannot hold shares in holding company. It's as good as your dad has asked you not to go to Goa. Can you ask your dad not to go to Goa? Answer is no. Answer is no. All right. He can go wherever he wants, but he can ask you not to go wherever you want. Are you guys understanding? No, we didn't understand. 6:30 in the morning, we don't understand. Listen. Can a subsidiary hold shares in the holding company? Answer is no. The answer is no. How can you decide what your dad has to do? How can you control your dad? Of course, your mom can control your dad. That's a separate issue. Not the topic of discussion right now. My topic is, can you control your dad? Of course, girls are saying, sir, yes, sir, my dad is emotional. He will get controlled. No, I'm talking about a genuine, simple scenario where a child cannot control his dad. The same way, can a subsidiary hold shares in the holding company? The answer is no. The answer is no. Are there exceptions? Yes. What are the quick exceptions? Let's quickly see. The first one. All right. If you're holding as a legal representative of a deceased member, if you're holding it as a trustee, if you are holding those shares even before becoming a subsidiary, then you can go ahead and continue holding. Three important things. All right. One, legal representative. Second, as a trustee. And the third one is already holding or existing shareholder even before becoming a subsidiary, then you can go ahead and continue holding. But note, you will not get voting rights. Very important. You will not get voting rights in the third scenario. In the third scenario, you will not get voting rights. In the first two scenario, will I get? Yes, because the capacity is separate. The capacity is different. Understanding, everyone? We have discussed this long back, if you remember. The same examples. I'm not even changing my examples because I want you to recall all of those. Yes, we're done with section 19. Section 20 talks about how to serve documents. Section 21 talks about ensuring that all the documents, all the contracts have to be signed. All right. Who is going to sign? It is going to be signed by your KMP or an officer of the company. There are definitions for what exactly is a KMP, who is an officer of the company, what is board, all of these under section 2. All right. Then section 22 talks about execution of the bill of exchange. Who is going to sign the checks? Who is going to sign the promissory note? All of these things are covered under section 22, which gives in detail who are going to be the authorized representatives. All right. For signing the document. We are done with the second chapter. There in the session? Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Chapter 3 deals with your prospectus and allotment of securities. Don't enter the examination hall without reading this chapter. Don't enter the examination hall without reading this chapter. I'm expecting a lot of questions from here. I'm expecting questions from this chapter. I'm expecting questions from this chapter. All right. Because again, reason being, in the last 2 years, there has been a spike in the number of IPOs and FPOs which have come in the market. All right. Every Tom, Dick and Harry is talking about IPO these days. All right. You might have seen your friends. Let's apply for this IPO. Let's apply for that IPO. Your parents might have been speaking about it. Why? Because there's been a huge spike in the number of IPOs. I'm expecting a question here. All right. So 100% focus. Section 23 talks about public offer and private placement. What is this section talking about? Sir, how can a public company beg? How can a private company beg? Very simple. All right. How can a public company beg? How can a private company beg? Very easy to remember. 23. All right. How do we beg? As simple as that. For those of you who are not able to gauge, if you didn't understand what is on screen, you missed it. All right. So when it comes to a public company, you can go ahead to the public through prospectus. You can do a private placement. You can do a right issue. You can do a bonus issue. As simple as that. When it comes to a private company can go ahead only with right issue or bonus issue or with a private placement. Can they do through your prospectus? Answer is no. Section 2 clause 68, which talks about your private company. Private company is a company which by its articles of association, one of the clauses is prohibition from inviting public to subscribe to your securities. Language. They're not even using the word shares. They're using the language securities. Yes. So since they have explicitly mentioned under section 2 clause 68, so a private company can't beg, borrow, steal, as simple as that, from public. Internally, do whatever you want. All right. So section 25 talks about documents which you're going to documents containing securities for sale to be deemed prospectus. Now, what is this deemed prospectus? We will come back to it when we are discussing about issue. All right. Now, issues can be of 3 types. Specifically, we're talking only about public issue right now. So you have to remember there's only one section in the entire act which is applicable to your private companies, which is your private placement. Rest, everything is applicable in this chapter only for public companies. Same discussion that we had during the sessions as well. All right. So when it comes to your public companies, they can go ahead to the public with 3 different ways of raising money. First one is called as IPO. IPO means first time you're begging. Second time, since you've got the habit of begging, which is called as FPO, follow on public offers. All right. The third one is called as OFS. OFS is called as your offer for sales. Understanding, everyone? Yes. So section 25 is talking about documents containing offer for securities for sale to be deemed prospectus. So what is this OFS? OFS, let's assume, same example, Wipro, Azim Premji, let's assume sir had almost 80% of the stake in the company. Law said, sir, you can't have more than 75%. Same example. Yes. So now sir had 5% extra. The moment he offloads it in the market, it's not going to be easy because there's going to be a plunge in the market because 5% liquid shares in the market. It's not easy. Supply is higher than demand. It is simple economics that there will be a fall in the market. So what we have to do, the company is going to take over this 5% and then supply it in the market as a public offer. Now this is called as OFS. This is called as OFS. Understanding, everyone? Now for this, whenever the company is asking some intermediary, is asking someone to come and help them in offloading these shares in the market, whatever document that person is using is as good as my document, is as good as the prospectus of the company. This is the concept of deemed prospectus. Or else what will happen? Let's assume Deepa. She knows the moment she goes ahead with the prospectus, she has to follow XYZ format. She has to follow XYZ rules. She doesn't want to follow. So what she asks, she's asking another friend of her, let's assume Fizza, an agent. Fizza, you go ahead and offload these shares in the market and you do whatever documentation has to be done. Whatever Fizza does is as good as a prospectus which Deepa has issued. She has to follow whatever prospectus rules and regulations are to be followed. And this is the concept of deemed prospectus. Crystal clear with the concept, same example, same understanding that we had long back. All right. Then section 26 talks about matters to be stated in the prospectus. The first one is it has to be dated and signed. It must have all the relevant information. It should include a couple of reports by your CA, by your CAS, by the board of directors, declarations which have to be filed. All of these things have to be captured. All right. Prospectus cannot be issued to the public until a copy has been delivered to your daddy. All right. Prospectus to include a statement by expert. Same thing. If you remember, who's an expert? He cannot be a related party. If he is a related party, he cannot issue a statement. Do you remember the same discussion? Yes. And the last one, prospectus to be issued within 90 days of its being delivered to the ROC. So what happened? Pawan was sleeping, assume. All right. He's gone ahead. He's given it to the registrar, but he forgot to make the public issue itself. Law says you have 90 days. If you don't take action, again, come up with another prospectus, file it with your daddy and go ahead and issue it to the public. As simple as that. So 90 days is the expiry date. All right. Section 27 talks about variation in the terms of contract or objects in prospectus. You had promised your parents that you're going to work hard. Sudden variation because you have something called as Instagram, you got carried away. What is it? Variation in the terms of contract with your parents. Now, is it acceptable? Answer is wait. Listen to me very carefully. What happens? When the initial offer was made, when the offer was made in the prospectus, we clearly mentioned, so we're going to do whatever money I raise. I'm going to use it for software business. Suddenly, I find that stock markets are doing well. So whatever money I've raised from public, I will start pumping it in the stock market. As a company, is it acceptable? Law says, wait, you can't do so. You will have to take the approval from your members. If the members agree, only then you can go ahead and use their money for the purpose of anything beyond for what you have mentioned in the prospectus. All right. So this is what is covered under section 27. The term of the prospectus cannot be altered without the approval by way of special resolution. All right. The details of such resolution have to be published in the newspaper. Company not to use any amount raised through prospectus for buying, trading, or otherwise dealing in equity shares of any other listed company. Just now, whatever example I gave is in itself an prohibition. It's a prohibition. You do anything. Let's assume you've raised it for software. You want to use it for real estate. No problem. Pass a special resolution. What you're doing, you've raised the money saying software business, and you want to invest in equity shares, or you want to invest in stock markets. Law says you cannot do this. Even if you pass a special resolution, still you can't do this. Understanding? I'm expecting a question. That's why I gave the same example, because this in itself is a prohibition. Are you guys understanding, everyone? Yes. No, sir, I've raised it for software, but I want to invest in real estate. Acceptable? Yes. I've raised it for software. I want to use it for, say, a trade of saris. Acceptable? Yes. I've raised it for software, but I want to invest in stock market. Acceptable? No. Not acceptable. Understood, everyone? Strictly prohibited, even if you pass a special resolution. Now, let's assume special resolution passed. I've got all the approvals. Mute yourself, whoever it is. I passed a special, whoever it is, mute yourself. I passed a special resolution. I've got the approvals. Now, there are, let's assume, 5% people. All right. They're telling, no, sir, we don't want you to go invest in real estate. We want you to carry on software business itself. In subtle language, you can ask them to leave. All right. In very simple language, you can ask them to leave. They are called as dissenting shareholders. What will you give them? You will give them something called as exit offer. You're going to give them as something called as exit offer. So you can leave. I'll give you a price for whatever shares you have. You give it to me and you please leave the meeting, or you leave the company. As simple as that. Understood, everyone? So this is coming under section 27. I'm expecting a question here. All right. Section 28 deals with OFS by certain members of the company. Now, what is OFS? Same example. Mr. Azim Premji, write examples next to the section number so that you will remember what the topic is. All right. Mr. Azim Premji is holding 80%. Now, out of it, law clearly says you can't hold 80%, sir. Not more than 75% you can hold. Now, he has that extra 5%. What he has to do? Directly, if he sells in the market, there will be a plunge in the market. So what he does this through a company. He does this through through the company, and whatever the company is going to take and dispose it in the market, that will be called as offer for sale. Understood, everyone? Yes. So this is under section 28. Then section 29 talks about public offer has to be in dematerialized form. What is demat form? Instead of paper certificates, instead of physical copies, it has to be in electronic forms. Section 31 talks about shelf prospectus. What is shelf prospectus? Every year you want to beg, borrow in multiple tranches. In 1 year, you are not satisfied with just one begging. Since you got the habit of begging, I know you will not be able to make the prospectus every time. So you make one prospectus which can be used for multiple offers, and that is called as shelf prospectus. All right. It's as good as try to picturize your bookshelf. Try to picturize your bookshelf. All right. You can keep multiple, you will have 2 or 3 layers in the bookshelf so that you can keep 2 or 3 layers of books. All right. 2 or 3 different groups of books. The same way, shelf prospectus is also one shelf under which multiple offers can be made. Understanding, everyone? Yes. So this is about your section 31 talks about your shelf prospectus. Section 32 talks about your RHP, red herring prospectus. Now, this is to understand market sentiments. How people are they accepting my product or not? All right. So what I will do, I will give them all the details except for 2 things. One, value. What value can they buy? Second is quantity, because my quantity is dependent on the value. All right. I know I want to raise 100 crores. But at what price should I sell it to the market? What price should I issue it to the market? I don't know. Whether it should be 100, 200, 300, I don't know. So I will give them a range. I will try to understand from them. All right. And based on that, I will come and arrive at a price. And that is called as this kind of prospectus where you don't have the details of value and the quantity is called as RHP or red herring prospectus. Do you remember? We've seen all of this. Zomato's RHP we had seen. No, sir. We don't remember what we ate yesterday night. What you're asking is what we did 6 months back. Section 34 talks about criminal liability for misstatement and prospectus. In case if you have misstated anything in the prospectus, simple case, criminal liability is going to come into picture. Unlimited liability is going to come into picture. Section 447, which is waiting outside your door, is going to be triggered. As simple as that. All right. This is about section 34. Section 35 talks about, sir, apart from criminal liability, there will be civil liability as well. All right. There will be civil liability as well. For whoever is the person responsible, that person and the company will be covered under section 35 and section 36. Now, section 36 talks about what punishment will come into picture. What is this section 36 talking about? Fraudulently, you're inducing people to invest. You're giving them false information and you're convincing them to come and invest in the company. Not acceptable. Not acceptable. Classic example. This was on one of the news channels. All right. I think I had given this example as well. All right. This was on one of the news channels where the anchor was trying to promote an IPO by giving false information. All right. What was he doing? He was trying to convince you to come and invest in this IPO. Higher the application becomes oversubscription. Oversubscription means higher demand. Higher demand means the moment it gets listed in the stock market, there will be listing gains which will come into picture for people. All right, what are listing gains? Listing gains means you have purchased the lot at 14,000, assume. The moment it got listed on the stock market, it became 20,000. How much are you going to earn? 6,000. When the moment it got listed. These kind of gains are called as listing gains. Are you guys understanding? Yes. So now this person, whoever made the news in the news channel, was arrested under section 36. All right, in public. You can go ahead and Google later. So section 37 talks about action by affected person. Whoever is affected, you can go ahead and file a case. Now this is what happened under section 36. The anchor was arrested because of a complaint by one of the affected persons. Now this is under section 37. All right, section 39 talks about allotment of securities by the company. Now, the moment someone is going to subscribe, company has to go ahead and allot. Just give me a second. All right. So the moment company goes ahead and makes an application, or rather public makes an application, company has to go ahead and allot the securities. And there are time limits. How much is the minimum amount that you have to receive within 30 days? If you don't get the application money, then you have to return the entire amount, and the return of allotment shall be filed by the company. In detail, we have discussed this. Section 40 talks about securities to be dealt with the stock exchange. Whatever you're making a public offer, that has to be listed on a recognized stock exchange. All right. Then we went on to understand section 42, which talks about your OFS, which talks about your private placement, not section 43, it's 42, private placement. All right. Section 42 talks about private placement. Now, this is the only way, this is the only mode where a private company can beg. Are you guys understanding? Apart from right issue and bonus issue, even a private company is allowed to beg, but how? Through a private placement. Now, what does private placement say? Sir, in one particular placement, you cannot have more than 50, and the offer shall not exceed more than 200, excluding your QIBs and ESOPs. Now, listen to me. One single placement, 50. One single placement, 50. There was some confusion. If you remember, we discussed this. All right. One single placement, 50. Throughout the year, 200. Can't go beyond 200. As simple as that. Understanding? Yes. Now, next thing that you will have to remember is, sir, in case if it is QIBs, all right, what are QIBs? Qualified institutional buyers, and your ESOPs. Will this be covered within the calculation of 50? Law says no, keep them aside. Now, what are QIBs? These are high big end institutions. Example, your insurance companies, it could be your banking sector, who are investing in these kind of companies. They are not covered within the limit of 50. As simple as that. ESOPs are excluded somewhere else as well. Where? ESOPs are excluded in another calculation. Where?
The calculation of company members.
Private company 200 limit. Do you remember once upon a time, the same faculty has discussed what all is to be covered within 200. Joint holders will be considered as one. Present and past employees, if they have become the shareholders by virtue of their employment, will not be covered within 200 calculation. Section 2, clause 68, read with the rules. Do you remember? Yes. Now, please note, same thing here also. QIBs will be ignored, and ESOPs will be ignored for the purpose of my private placement. I hope I'm clear, everyone. All right. No public advertisement can be made. Very obvious, because it is private placement. It can't be a public placement. If it is a public placement, then it is as good as public offer. All right. A return has to be filed. No, sir, we won't follow whatever you told. Very simple. Fine of 2 crores and the amount whichever is higher. All right. This is about your chapter 2. Chapter 3 is nothing but your share capital. Again, in detail covered as a part of your other subjects, accounts 1, accounts 2, as the case may be. We will come back to this later. All right. Let's quickly first go to chapter 4, or rather chapter 5, which talks about your deposits. Extremely important. Why? Because if CA Institute wants to ask questions on deposit, they can ask only now. They can't ask in CA final. So they will ensure to test you guys on deposits right away. All right. So what is this topic about deposits? Section 73 talks about prohibition on acceptance of deposit from public. All right. Section 73 clearly says, sir, who all can accept deposit? Who all cannot accept deposit? What is the definition of deposit? What is not covered within public deposit? Very important from exam perspective is there are around 22 categories which are not covered within the definition of deposit. That has to be there at the tip of your tongue. All right. If you are missing out on any of those, not acceptable, because extremely important from exam perspective. Either you can expect an MCQ or you can expect a case study. Either you can expect an MCQ or a case study. I hope you're making a note of it. All right. Now, prohibition on acceptance of deposit. Who can accept, who cannot accept? Section 74 talks about repayment of deposit before the commencement of this act. This is talking about, sir, if you've taken deposit even before the Companies Act 2013 came into picture, then you have to ensure that you repay. When you have to repay, what is the payment? What will happen if you don't repay? And the penalty has been covered under section 74. 75 talks about acceptance of deposit from public by certain companies. Now, 75 is telling, sir, not everyone can accept deposits from public. Can a private company accept deposit? Sir, Vanda, no, you can't. You cannot go ahead and take deposits. You're a private company. We are talking about public company accept, or rather we are talking about deposits from public. Are you guys understanding? However, can they take from members? Yes, sir. Members, you do whatever you want. We have no problem. Are you guys understanding? For all my sentimental and emotional friends who got carried away, listen to me very carefully. Now listen. Can a private company take from public? Sir, you can't. Very obvious. Section 2 clause 68 clearly says invitation to public for subscribing to your securities. Now the word securities is used, not shares. That means it covers everything under the sky. Is prohibited for a private company. Yes. Now when it comes to private company, sir, you can't go to the public. Can I take it from the public, my members? Yes. Public company, can every public company take from deposits from the public? Answer is no. Only eligible companies can go ahead and take public deposits. Not every company can take deposits from public. Are you guys understanding? Or else, Sara, same example that I gave you. If you remember the scam which happened, Sara scam. All right, we had discussed this. Now, the problem is the moment I say we have discussed this, it's just trying to figure out, is this guy just telling for the sake of it, or did he really discuss? Did we discuss Sara scam? Do you remember?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if I haven't discussed, there's a show on Netflix, go watch. All right. It's called as Bad Millionaires or Bad Billionaires or something. Go watch it. As simple as that. All right. Now there's Google it. Okay, Google. Section 76 talks about acceptance of deposits from public by certain companies. Now, what is section 76 telling? Sir, only eligible companies can go ahead and take money from public. Now, who are these eligible companies? These are public companies which are having net worth of 100 crores. Or turnover of 500 crores, and which is taken prior consent by the company in the general meeting by means of a special resolution and has filed such resolution with the registrar. Very important. Not every Tom, Dick and Harry can go ahead and take money from public. It has to be with your net worth of 100 crores, turnover of 500 crores. Very simple. Is it or and? Is it or and?
Or.
Is it or and?
Or.
Do you remember similar confusion we had when we were discussing our small company definition, section 2 clause 85? Earlier they had used or. Later on they realized they've done a blunder. Every company is calling themselves as a small company. Do you remember? Yes. So please note here. Luckily they've used the language or else no one under the sky will ever be able to take deposits from public company. Now think logically, whether we want to allow people or not, we want to allow. Yes, that's why we want this entire concept. That's why we've used the language or. Logical? Yes. Now, please note, apart from this, you will have to pass a special resolution. And how much is the amount that you can accept? You can accept 25% of paid up capital and free reserve. 25% of what? Paid up capital and free reserves. This is what section 76 has to talk about. Section 76, extremely important. What is not deposits? If you remember, we've discussed this in length and breadth. Extremely important from exam perspective. Expect at least one question from here. What is not deposit? All right. This is coming from the definition. Amount not received from government, from banks, from any of the banks as loan. If you have taken it as from the PFIs, if you have taken it in the commercial papers or certificate of deposits, any amount received from another company, very important, very important. All right. Ramya Private Limited has taken money from Anaga Private Limited. Is it deposit? Answer is no. Important. Are you guys understanding? Yes. Then any amount which you have taken as a share application money, very important, provided that you have returned it after 60 days. If you have not allotted within 60 days, all right, then you have to ensure that you are going to refund that amount within 15 days from the expiry of 60th day. No, sir, I forgot. Start considering as deposit after the expiry of 15th day. Do you remember we had discussed this? Yes. A couple of case studies that we had solved. Yes. Next, any adjustment will not be considered as refund. Amount which you have received from the directors or relative of the directors. Do you remember we had solved this question? All right. We had made a matrix, directors, relative of directors, where all they are covered and where they are not covered. Yes. So this is topic about what exactly is going to be considered as your deposits. Important from exam perspective. All right. Then chapter 6 talks about charges. Now, what are charges on your property? Let's assume Dhruvi wants to take, Dhruvi Private Limited wants to take, keep your cameras on. Dhruvi Private Limited wants to take a loan from a bank. Now, banker is not her relative. The banker is not going to give her a loan without a charge, without any security. Now, how do they get the security? By ensuring that her assets are a security for the bank. Now, what is the banker going to do? He is going to create a charge on the assets of Dhruvi Private Limited, and that is covered under this chapter. Section 77 talks about duty to register charges. If you remember, first duty is of the company. Company forgot. Banker forgot. Can a third party do it? 100% yes. A third party can also go ahead and request for a charge registration. Do you remember the discussion that we had? Yes. So this is about your registration. Section 78 talks about application for registration of charges. You're going to apply to your register whenever there is any charge, whenever there is any modification, whenever there is any change. All right. Section 77 is not going to apply in a couple of cases, which is covered under Section 79. Section 80 talks about date of notice of charge. Whenever on the date of registration, the charge is deemed to be a public notice. Why is public notice important? Comes back to my doctrine of constructive notice, if you remember. All right, let's assume if you have gone ahead and the public notice has been given, by mistake, you've still gone and given a loan, and he has given the same property to you, as a charge. Congratulations. Tomorrow, if he doesn't pay, you can't do anything because you should have checked the documents once before entering into an agreement. Do you remember? Yes, we had seen on MCA platform of Wipro or Infosys, we'd seen how charge documents were created on the platform. Do you remember, friends? Yes. So this is about your notice. Section 82 talks about report of satisfaction of charges. What is the meaning of the word satisfaction of charges? There is no more charge created. There is no more charge being on the assets, and that is satisfied. This comes into picture the moment this has been repaid. All right. Then Section 83, power of the registrar to make entries of the satisfaction and release in the absence of intimation from the company. What is the meaning of this? This means the registrar, once he is convinced and he is satisfied with all the documents which has been submitted to him, he is going to issue a document. He has the power to release that asset from any more charges, and that is called as satisfaction charges. All right, satisfaction of the charges. Section 85 talks about intimation of appointment of a receiver or manager. This comes into picture when the company is being dissolved or being wound up. And the last one, sir, all that you've yelled at the top of your voice, I will not follow. What will happen? Nothing. I found out it is just a penalty which you're going to attract. Now, chapter 7, the pap of all chapters, one of the lengthiest chapter that we had spent time on, if you remember. What we'll do is we'll quickly go to one or two topics of other laws and then come back to this so that you would be pretty fresh for this topic. Can I begin? Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm not sure if you guys realized it's been 50 minutes. It's been almost an hour. All right. I'm not sure how many of you realized. Nevertheless, I hope you guys are able to at least recall whatever we have discussed in the past. All right. I'm sure you will not be able to remember everything, but at least try to recall whatever we've discussed in the past. Let's go to the next topic of your other laws. Is the screen visible? Anaga, Aditi, there in the session?
Yes.
There are a few faces which aren't there in the session. I'm not sure why. Anyways, the first topic is Indian Contract Act. You already know this topic is what you thought, but we know how much we knew after our discussion. All right. So Indian Contract Act of 1872. First unit is contract of indemnity and guarantee. Extremely important. What is indemnity? Indemnity is defined under section 124. A contract of indemnity, a contract by which one party promises to save the other party by the loss caused to him by the conduct of the promiser himself, either you do it or by the conduct of any other person, is called as contract of indemnity. Example, quick. Example. Insurance companies, easy to remember. All right. Now, fire insurance, marine insurance can be covered, but life insurance is not covered within the contract of indemnity. Any reason? Your value for your parents is different from your value for me. As simple as that. Yes, your value for your parents is different from what your value is for me. For me, you're a sleeping head. For your parents, you're working hard. As simple as that. Yes. Let's go back. Section 125 talks about rights of indemnified. Rights of indemnified. Whom am I talking about? You, the insured. The insured is covered as rights of indemnified. Very important, because here is where we get confused. All right. No, right to recover damages, right to recover costs, right to recover the amount which has been agreed to be paid, and right for specific performances. What is specific performance? Court is going to ensure that you are going to pass, the court is going to pass an order to ensure that you perform whatever you had promised. Now, very important thing that you have to remember is right of indemnifier. Indemnifier, I repeat, right of indemnified, section 125. Right of indemnifier has not been exclusively given in your Indian Contract Act. If you remember the same discussion that we had, section 141, which deals with your right of surety, is similar to the rights of indemnifier, or it's going to be applied for the rights of indemnifier. Very important thing, Act of God. Which movie? Quick. We discuss a movie as well.
OMG.
So the same thing is coming here. Act of God is not going to be covered within the contract of indemnity. Contract of guarantee is covered under section 126. Section 126 says, sir, what exactly is a contract of guarantee? It's a contract to perform promise or discharge the liability of a third person in case of his default. There are three parties involved. Same triangle, if you remember. There's a principal debtor, there's a creditor, and there's a surety. Triangle, do you remember? Yes. Now, the first, how many contracts are there? There are three separate contracts. One is going to be an implied contract. Which one is that? Which one is an implied contract? Which one is an implied contract? Respond. Unmute yourself. The contract between principal debtor and surety. Guarantor or surety?
Surety.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong here. All right. The contract between principal debtor and surety is an implied contract. The rest contracts are always existing. As simple as that. All right, Ramya, there in the session. Consideration for guarantee, section 127. Again, this can come as an MCQ. Sir, the fact that you've taken the position of a surety in itself is a sufficient consideration. Don't ask for anything beyond this. Is your understanding? Yes. The same point. Section 127. Sir, anything done or any promise made for the benefit of the principal debtor may be a sufficient consideration to the surety for giving the guarantee. As simple as that. Example. You wanted education loan. All right. Your parents have given a guarantee. Did your father ask for a consideration? Did he ask you for some money? The answer is no. Ideally, no. If he did, then of course he's a businessman. Goes unsaid. Now the whole point is in such a situation, is it going to be considered as a consideration? Law says, sir, don't consider this as a consideration. The fact that he's taken a position of a surety in itself is a sufficient consideration. Bhumika, there in the session? Understanding? Yes. The fact that he's taken the position of surety in itself is a sufficient consideration. You don't need anything beyond this. All right. This is the consideration for guarantee. Expecting a question here. What are the essentials of a valid guarantee? It has to be for securing a principal debt. There has to be written. It can be written or oral. There has to be a direct consideration between, there need not be a direct consideration between surety and creditor. Principal debtor may be a minor. MCQ. All right. Principal debtor may be a minor. Classic, your own example I'm giving. You wanted an education loan from the banker. Let's assume you wanted to pay your PU fees. All right. Assume you wanted to pay a PU fees. For that, you have taken a bank loan. Now your dad has given the guarantee on your behalf to the banker. Are you a minor? Answer is yes. Is there a surety? Answer is yes. Did he take money from you? The answer is no, because section 127 says the fact that he's occupied the position of a surety is in itself a sufficient consideration. Connecting sections. All right. Next, no misrepresentation or concealment should be there. Existing liability or future at once, which can be enforceable at law, coextensive with that of the principal debtor. What is the meaning of the last point? Whatever is the liability of the principal debtor, only that can become the liability of the surety. You can't ask him extra money. I hope you're understanding. Can it be lesser? 100% yes. It can be lesser than what the liability is. All right. You have taken 10 crores from the banker and you want me to become a surety. First of all, I won't. Let's assume still I'm a golden hearted man. Assume. All right. Now, in this case, if I go ahead and give you the guarantee, I will not give for 10 crores. I'll give only for 1 crore. And that is the concept of coextensive. Either it can be up to the amount of your debt or lesser than that. This is the concept. All right. Then is there now again, I'm expecting a question between distinguish between contract of indemnity and contract of guarantee. Number of parties, nature of liability, time to act, right to sue third party, and purpose. If you remember these points of distinction in itself is sufficient, you'll be able to answer all of these questions. Don't worry. All right. If you remember, this is the beauty of the concept. If you remember just these points in itself is sufficient, you will be able to answer and distinguish both. Now, most important thing, the question which comes in your examination, will you be able to draw tables? Can you draw tables in examination? 100% yes. You can draw tables. My suggestion is, as much as possible, try to ensure that you don't write in paragraphs. If you can give your answers in a better way, example charts, tables, it would be in your favor. You're at least giving a break to the evaluator from the boredom of reading points and paragraphs. As simple as that. Are you guys understanding? Doesn't mean that you make your all your SUPW projects in your examination paper. All right. I hope I'm clear. Next, Nature of surety's liability. Surety's liability is going to be secondary in nature. Why? Whose liability is going to be primary? The principal debtor, sir. He has to pay the debt. Tomorrow, if he fails, then surety is going to come into picture. As simple as that. All right. Next. Continuing guarantee under section 129. Same example. Guys have taken let's assume goods from girls. All right. They become the principal debtors and they want me to become the surety for all the series of transactions. Now, important language, series of transactions. This is important phrase. All right. Writing this phrase is extremely important. Only then you're going to get marks. For a series of transactions, then you're going to call it as continuing guarantee. As simple as that. All right. Section 132, expecting a question here. All right. What is section 132 talking about? Liability of two persons, primarily liable, not affected by an arrangement between them, that one shall be the surety of other person. What was this, sir? We don't recall. Don't worry. I'll explain. All right. Let's assume A, B have given a promissory note to C. Sagar and Divya have given a promissory note to Aditi. All right. Sagar and Divya have given a promissory note to Aditi. What is the meaning of this? Both of them are equally liable. Both of them are debtors in the instant case. Now, Divya smartly tells Sagar, sir, I am coming in this promissory note, but note, I am just your surety. I am not coming here as a principal debtor. But between whom is this arrangement? Sagar and Divya. Is Aditi even bothered about it? Answer is no. Tomorrow, let's assume there is on the due date. Can Aditi go ahead and catch Divya's throat? The answer is 100% no, no physical violence. But having said that, definitely she can recover the entire amount from Divya. Can Divya say, no, I'm a surety here? The answer is no, because liability of two persons, primarily liable, both of them are principal debtors, will not be affected between them having an arrangement wherein one person is agreeing to become the surety of others default. Understood, everyone? Same example, nothing I funda. If you can recall whatever discussion that we had. All right. Next point is when surety is discharged of his liability, expecting a question here. All right. When surety is no more liable, there can be a discussion from three buckets. All right. There are three buckets under which this discussion comes into picture. First one is called as revocation. Second one, where revocation means because of notice, death, or novation, the surety is discharged. He is no more liable. Act of the creditor. Creditor has done some stupidity. Because of that, surety may not be any more liable. What are those situations, sir? Variation in the terms, release of the principal debtor. Creditor himself says, I don't want money from this person. He's releasing the principal debtor. That means he's releasing the surety as well. All right. Third point, compounding by the creditor, impairing surety's remedy, and loss of security. These are the five scenarios under which your act of creditors, or because of the act of creditors, surety will not be liable anymore. Invalidation. Because of essential elements. Let's assume contract itself is invalid. Misrepresentation, concealment, failure of consideration, and co-surety are not joining. Any of these five things are coming into picture. Then again, surety is discharged of his liability. Understanding, Shreyas? Yes. Rights of surety. Now, surety's rights can be from against three people. One against the principal debtor, one against the creditor, and the third one is against the co-sureties. Against the principal debtor, right of subrogation. What is the meaning of the word subrogation? He will go out and I will become now the principal debtor. The moment I make the payment on his behalf, he will go out and I will become the debtor, and I will receive all the money, or rather the creditor will go out and I will receive the right to recover the money from the debtor now. Understanding, everyone? What is the meaning of the word subrogacy? If you remember, same example that I had given. What is the meaning of the word subrogacy? Instead of one person staying in the state, he steps out and someone else is coming into the picture. All right. I am stepping into the shoes of someone else. In that case, that's what I call the word subrogation. Are you guys understanding? Yes. Now, example, right of subrogation. The moment I have made a payment on behalf of the principal debtor to the creditor, creditor is out of picture, I will become the creditor, and this is the right of subrogation. Right of indemnity, I have all the rights to recover the amount from him. Right to security. Now, against the creditor, I have the right to security. Right of set off. Set off example. Creditor himself had to pay me. I'm a surety. Creditor himself had to pay me 1 crore. The principal debtor has taken, let's assume 1 crore 50 lakhs. Now I will pay only 50 lakhs because I can set off that 1 crore anyways, which I have to receive from you. All right. And the last one is right to contribution. I can ask all the other co-sureties also to make the payment, whatever they are liable to. All right. Next, bailment and pledge. Now, what is bailment and pledge? I have to go out. Let's assume I have to go out. Now I give my goods to you until I come back. Now this is called as bailment. Bailment arises when one person transfers the possession of goods to another. Very important. There should be a transfer. There should be goods. there should be transfer, there should be goods. You can expect a question here on the condition that he's going to restore them to the bailor after the purpose for which they were delivered is accomplished. Example, tailor. Example, tailor. Easy. Yes, you go to the tailor, you give your goods, you give the material, he's going to stitch and he's going to give it to you back. Now, this is bailment. This is bailment. Can it be for consideration? Yes. Can it be gratuitous? Yes, it can be any of these. All right. Now, there's a difference between sale and bailment. One is in terms of transfer. Second one is from the point of view of goods. Third one is price. And the fourth one is return of goods. These are the 4 buckets based on which you can distinguish sale and bailment. Forms of bailment. Bailment can be delivery of goods by one person to another, goods being hired, goods given to a friend for his own use, hiring of goods, delivery of goods for as a security, which is nothing but pledge, if you remember. If you remember, yes. Now, the next one is delivery of goods for repair and delivery of goods for carriage. If you remember, I'd given a startup, one startup for each of these. Dunzo, you talk about your Rapido, you talk about examples that we had discussed. All right. So we had taken one example for each one of the startups for each of these categories to understand. All right. Now, bailment can be of 2 types, gratuitous or non-gratuitous. Duties of bailor, important. If you know duties of bailor, that becomes the rights of bailies. Rights of bailey becomes the rights of the pawnee. If you remember a connection that we had, a 6-tier discussion that we had. All right. So duties of bailor, example, you want to go get your goods stitched, or rather you want to get your material stitched. Now you become the bailor and I become the tailor becomes the bailey. Understanding? You want your t-shirt or shirt to be stitched. You give the material to the tailor. Tailor becomes the bailey and you are the bailor. Now we are talking about duties of bailor. That is your duties. Disclose the known facts, bear necessary expenses, indemnify the bailey, and bound to accept the goods. After the tailor has done the stitching, you have to take back the goods. Whether you like it or not, you have to take it. As simple as that. All right. Rights of bailor, right to enforce the duty of the bailey and claim for damages, terminate the contract, demand the goods back, and claim the increase or profits which are arising. Now, these are rights, your own rights. First is your duties. Second is rights. If you remember, again, confusion which arises in examination, you get confused. They are asking duties, you end up writing rights. They are asking rights, you end up writing duties. Understanding? Yes, duty is something that you have to do. Right is something which you are entitled to receive. As simple as that. All right. Now, Section 154 talks about liability of the bailey. Section 152, in case of unauthorized use of goods. 156 talks about mixture. All right. When the goods can be separated. 157, mixture when the goods cannot be separated. If you remember the same discussion, cotton bales, rice, which can be mixed, which cannot be mixed, and all of that. All right. Termination of bailment. Bailment is going to come to an end if it is because of expiry of fixed period, achievement of objective, death or death of the bailor or bailey, inconsistent to use of the goods, and destruction of the subject matter itself. Now, these are the scenarios in which the bailment will come to an end. Next, duties of bailey. Again, I'm not going to get into the details of this because it becomes the rights of the bailor. Rights of the bailey becomes the duties of the bailor. Next, Section 167, rights of the third person claiming goods paid. What is Section 167 saying? Sir, some third party is coming to picture and he says that whatever goods that you had paid to me, let's assume you've given a material, all right, to me for stitching. You've given your material to me for stitching. Suddenly your friend comes and tells that you've stolen the goods from her and given it to me for stitching. Possible? Yes, anything possible with my friends. So now in this situation, I am confused. I have designed the entire product, but to whom, for whom, to whom should I give? What should I do? I will make an application to the court, or you can, the third party can make an application to the court and ensure that I don't give these goods to anyone, neither to you nor to your friend, until and unless the title is decided. This is what Section 167 talks about. 168, you found a diamond. Congratulations. All right. After this, you shouldn't be there in the meeting anymore, but nevertheless, assume hungry for knowledge. Finder of lost goods. Guys, I am little quick. All right. First thing, it is revision. In normal sessions itself, people end up saying I'm fast. Upon that, if you're not able to catch me into the revision, something is definitely wrong with you, not with me. Now, Section 168 is finder of lost goods. First thing, congratulations, you found it. Can you keep it with yourself? Answer is no. You will have to return it. Should you find the person? Yes, it is your duty to go ahead and find the person. Now, let's assume the person has announced that he is going to give a reward. Can you claim the reward? Yes, you can claim the reward. But let's assume for finding that person itself, you have spent some money. Can you claim the reimbursement? Answer is you don't have right to reimbursement. Understanding? But do you have the right to reward? Yes, you have the right to reward. Can you sell these goods? Answer is no, you can't sell these goods. Is there an exception? Yes, there is an exception. Let's quickly see what is the exception. If the article is in the danger of perishing and losing the greater value, a greater part of the value, Or if the lawful charges of finding the person in itself is more than 2/3 of the value of the goods, then you can go ahead and please dispose the goods. If any of these conditions are satisfied, go ahead and dispose the goods. Understanding? Yes. If you remember, we had made a chart. 168 ka colorful chart. All right. No, sir. We don't remember whatever you've spoken about. Bailey's lien can be of two types: particular lien, general lien. Particular lien is those which can be exercised only if you have put some skills. You've applied some labor on those goods, only then you have a particular lien. Example, Ramya has given her dress material to Darshan for stitching. Now, tomorrow Ramya doesn't pay for this. Can Darshan withhold that? Can he not give this dress which he has stitched to Ramya? Answer is yes. Why? Because he has exercised his labor on the material. Understanding? But let's assume Ramya has given two such cloths to Darshan for making the dress material, for making the dress out of it. Now, in this case, can Darshan exercise his lien on both if Ramya has already paid for one? Ramya has made the payment for one. She has not made the payment for two. She has made the payment for one of the materials, say X. All right, for product X, she's made the payment. Can Darshan exercise a lien on both the products? Answer is no. He can exercise lien only on those products on which he has exercised his skill and labor and he has not been remunerated for it. As simple as that. Understood? This is particular lien. What is general lien? General lien means this comes into picture if you are a banker, if you are a wharfinger, if you are a factor. And in these situations, it is not for a particular product. It can be exercised on subsequent products as well. Now, this is what is called as general lien under section 171. Understood, everyone? Expecting a question. Now, what is the difference? Important from example perspective. Who is a pledge? What is a pledge? What is a pawnee? And what is a pawnee? Section 172. If the bailment of goods is a security for the payment of a debt or a promise of a performance of a promise is called as pledge. The bailer is called as the pawner and the bailee is called as the pawnee. If you've understood bailment, then you'll be able to understand pledge very easily. All right, because one of the forms of bailment in itself is pledge. One of the forms of bailment in itself is a pledge. 100% focused. Understanding? Yes. Now, what are the rights of retainer? What are the rights of the pawner? If you see, he has the right to retain. Rather, these are the rights of pawnee. All right, these are the rights of pawnee. Rights of retain. Right of retention for the subsequent debts and right to any extraordinary expenses which he has incurred. Next, what are can a non-owner also become a pledge? Can a non-owner also create a pledge? If you ask me, general piece of law, no. When something doesn't belong to you, how can you pledge it? All right, it's as good as Pawan wanted 1 crore rupee from the banker, so he has taken Pratibha's property and he has pledged it. Possible? Not possible. But let's assume, are there exceptions? Answers are yes, there are exceptions. Now, what are the exceptions? Mercantile agent. Any pledge which is covered under a voidable contract because you have the possession of the property under a voidable contract. If you have a limited interest, co-ownership is coming into picture in possession where you are seller or buyer in possession. All right. Even before, after becoming a seller or before becoming a buyer, is there a situation? The answer is yes. In such a situation, the non-owner can also create a pledge. Now, is there a difference between bailment and pledge? Answer is yes. Based on the purpose, use of goods, lien. Extremely important from exam perspective. Sale of goods is possible or not, and nature of interest in the property. Now, these are the factors based on which you're going to distinguish your bailment and pledge. Last topic under your Indian Contract Act is your agency. Now, agent is defined as a person who is employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealing with third person. The other person is called as principal. Example, you representing your clients before your ITAT authorities, before your income tax authorities. Who are you? You're an agent and your client is going to be the principal. Understanding? There in the session?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, test of agency, there are two conditions to be satisfied. First one, can you bind the principal and make him answerable? If the answer is yes, the first condition is satisfied. Second condition, can you establish a privity of contract between the principal and the third parties? The answer is yes. Example, you've gone and done some foolish act between the assessing officer. All right. Can he go ahead and pass a penalty order against the principal? Answer is yes. You're an agent. You've done some stupidity. Possible? Yes. My friends can do anything in sleep. Now, in this case, you have gone ahead and done some stupidity. Because of this, penalty order has been initiated against your principal. Is it possible? Yes. It's a classic test of the second point. If you see, the second point is getting satisfied. Privity of contract. Although your client has not come and given the information, but still a contract is established between your client and the income tax authorities. Now, this is the second point which is coming into picture. Understood? Yes. Next. Who can employ an agent? Section 183. talks about person qualified to appoint an agent must be a minor and or must not be a minor and has to be of sound mind. Please correct, please correct, please correct. Section 183, correct. There's a mistake. All right. Person qualified to become an agent must not be a minor and has to be of sound mind Understanding, everyone? There's a typo. There's a typo there. All right. Section 184. Whoever can be appointed as an agent can be a person except for a minor and of unsound mind. So in simple terms, a person who can go ahead and become, who can appoint, the same person can be, the person who can appoint an agent can himself become an agent as well. In simple terms, a minor and a person of unsound mind cannot become an agent, neither can appoint an agent. As simple as that. Understood, everyone? Yes. Next, creation of agency can be because of an express agreement, it can be an implied agreement, or it can be because of ratification. Next, agent's authority. In normal situation, he has to do whatever he's been authorized to do, whatever is lawful, whatever your principal would have done. In case of emergency, he can do everything to protect the principal from his losses. Agent's authority under subsection, under the first point, he can do everything which he is authorized to do. Under subsection 2, or if you see the second point, it clearly says he can go ahead and do everything, even though he might not have been authorized, but he can go ahead and do everything which the principal would have done for ensuring that there are no losses. Example, on the way to, let's assume from Bangalore, it's the Nandini van, the same example. All right. Amul milk or Nandini milk from Bangalore to, let's assume it's going to Tumkur. All right. Now on the way, because of the condition, because of the weather condition, the vehicle got stuck. If he waits for the vehicle to get repaired, he'll never reach Tumkur. So he immediately decided to sell all the materials on the way, all the goods on the way. Now, is this acceptable? Yes, this is acceptable because this was to ensure that the principal does not incur any losses. Now, delegation and creation of sub-agent. Same example, if you remember, your mom has asked you to do something and you've asked your sibling to do it. And if he is younger, you tap on his face with love and ask him to do. All right, you spank him and get your work done. Now, the whole point is, why am I telling all this? Out of experience. Now, coming back to the point, sub-agency is acceptable. Answer, general point, no. Sub-agency not acceptable. Tomorrow, if anything happens, parents are going to catch your throat and ask you, why did you do this? All right. And why did you spank? Coming back to the second point, is it acceptable? General piece of law? No. Second point. Is there an exception? Yes, there are a few exceptions under which you can go ahead and do it. All right. Language which you have to do, delegate, non-potest, delegate, non-potest, delegate. All right. Delegate is non-potest, delegate. If you remember, same Latin principle which you're going to use. All right. Sub-agent has been defined. And what are the exceptions? The first one, where in the original contract itself, we have specifically mentioned. Second point, where because of the customs of trade, because of the trade practices that we follow, we have no option but to appoint. And the third one, where in the agent's employment unforeseen emergencies are arising, then you can go ahead and delegate the work to someone else. All right. These are the only three exceptions, or else sub-agency is not acceptable. Next, substituted agency. Before we get on to substituted agency, let's see understanding the responsibility and liability. If you remember, we had made three colorful boxes, A, B, and C. All right. A is the principal. He has asked B to do something. Now B as sub-agent has given this responsibility to C. If it is within the exceptions, is C responsible to B? Answer is yes. Is the sub-agent responsible to agent? Yes. Is the agent responsible to the principal? Yes. Is the principal bound by whatever the sub-agent has done? Answer is yes, provided it is valid appointment. No, sir, by mistake, my dad had asked me to do, but I've given it to my brother or my sister. No, nothing I found out. Tomorrow, if anything happens, whatever your sister does or your brother does stupidity, you will be bound by it. But is your father bound by it? The answer is no. No. All right. This is the first point. Second point. Are you liable to your father? The answer is yes. Is your brother liable to you? The answer is yes. Your brother is definitely liable to you. But is he liable to your father? The answer is no. The answer is no. You'll have to pay attention, or else you'll not be able to understand. I repeat, 100% focus. A, principal. B, agent. C, sub-agent. Deepa, understanding? Yes. Now, A, if it is a valid appointment, no problem at all. B is responsible. C is responsible to B. B is responsible to A. A is bound by whatever C does. As simple as that. Now, if it is invalid appointment, is C responsible to B? Answer is yes. Wait. Yes. Is B responsible to A? Answer is yes. But is A bound by whatever stupidity C has done? Answer is no, because it's an invalid appointment. Classic example to remember is something which happens at home. Mom asked you to go get milk. You asked your brother to get the milk, but instead of getting milk, he has got paneer. Is he answerable to you? Answer is yes. Are you answerable to your mom? Answer is yes. But is mom bound by whatever stupidity your brother has done? I don't know. Now, this is the answer on your invalid appointment. Let's go ahead with the substituted agent. Now, when it comes to your substituted agent is different from sub-agent because sub-agent both are existing. You and your brother both are there in the picture. All right. But substituted agent means, as the word in itself says, you step out and someone else steps in. You step out and someone else steps in. Are you guys understanding? The agent will step out and substituted agent will come into picture. Example, classic example can be an auction. All right. In case of auction, let's assume you have a painting. All right. Now that painting has to be sold. You ask me to come and sell, but I don't know how to do it. So I will hire an auctioneer. All right. On your behalf. The moment an auctioneer comes into picture, I will step out. He is going to carry out the entire activity, and that is called as a substituted agent. Important from exam perspective, difference between sub-agent and substituted agent. Then, will an agency come to an end? Answer is yes, because of the principle revoking it, agent renouncing his agency, or the business of the agency has been completed, or because of any of them becoming of unsound mind, or because of any of them dying. All right, either these both are the same. All right, so either of them becoming of unsound mind or death. Now, duties of an agent, he has to ensure that whatever duties have been given to him is within the authority and he's performing it. Rights of an agent, important from exam perspective, because he has to receive the money. He has the right to remuneration. Can he exercise lien? Answer is yes. Can he be indemnified for all the lawful acts? Answer is yes. If he has done anything in the good faith, even if it might be stupid, but if he has done it in good faith, then it is all okay. He can be indemnified. If you remember, then in itself is a question on what is good faith, the same discussion that we had long back. All right. Now, what are the agent's liability? Agent liability for the acts of agent. He is liable for the principal is not bound when the agent goes beyond his authority. Principal is not bound when agent's authority is not separable and he's gone beyond what has been asked to him. Consequences of notice given to an agent will be as good as a notice given to the principal itself. If I have given a notice to the agent, it is as good as a notice given to the principal itself. Classic example, income tax officers have asked you to give something. It is as good as asking the principal to give it to him. All right. The last point, performance of contract with the agent supposed to be with that of the principal. All right. Whatever you do with the agent is as good as the contract has been performed with the principal. Now, when is the agency irrevocable? When you have interest in the sub matter. All right. In the subject matter, when the agent is personally involved or is interested in the subject matter in itself, then the agency is irrevocable. It cannot be revoked. It cannot come to an end as long as I have interest in the matter. Example, I've asked you to sell a property. All right. I've asked you to sell a property and that property is yours. The property is yours. You're the agent. Now you have the interest in the subject matter. Will the agency come to an end? No, until and unless the subject matter itself is getting over, your agency will not be revoked until and unless your subject matter is coming to a closure. All right. This is something that we discussed. What is the effect of termination? The moment you are terminated, you are no more liable and neither the principal is liable. However, it is important that you have to inform your third parties. As long as you are informing them, there's no issue at all. Now, this is about your Indian Contract Act. Can we go back to the Companies Act? Yes.
Yes.
If you realize we are almost at the verge of 1.5 hours. All right. Just allow me a second. So let's quickly see management and administration of a company. All right. Important from exam perspective. Don't enter the examination. Don't write this attempt itself if you have not prepared for this chapter. Don't write the attempt. I'm telling you. As simple. Audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Again? Yes. Can I get a little energy? Is my energy fine?
Yes, sir.
From you guys as well. So chapter 7 talks about your management and administration. Section 87 is talking about rectification by central government in charges. In case if there's any rectifications to be done to the register of charges, then central government is going to make such registration, such changes, and you will have to make an application to the central government. In case if there is any omission, that you are going to give an application as well. Section 88 talks about your register of members. Extremely important because there is a concept of foreign register which comes here. All right. When is the foreign register to be maintained, for whom it is to be maintained, and all of these things have to be will come into picture. Important thing. Can I maintain it at a place other than the registered office? The answer is yes. By passing a special resolution and 1/10 of the members should reside there, you have to you can keep it at a place other than your registered office as well. Section 89 talks about your beneficial interest in any shares. These are scenarios where you don't hold the shares, but you are having beneficial interest. Example, Dawood Ibrahim, D company, if you remember, same example, wherein, all right, he is holding actual owner, it's his money, but he don't want to come into the register. So he has asked you to hold the money. Example, partnership. Example, you holding shares on behalf of the company. Example, where because 100% can't be held by the company, you need minimum 2 members in case of a private company. So what the company does is 99.99% of the shares will be in the name of the company and 0.01% it will ask you to hold it just for the purpose of that extra 1%. But are you the real interest? Are you having the real interest? The answer is no. You're just holding it on behalf of the company and the company is going to have the beneficial interest. So section 89 says that declaration has to be given in case if there is a beneficial interest. Section 92 or 90 talks about investigation of beneficial interest of shares in certain cases. If the central government knows that there is some reason why someone is not competent or something is wrong with the beneficial interest, or there's an SBO, significant beneficial ownership is coming into picture, then central government can ask for an investigation to be carried out to check who's that person who's having the real interest in the company. Section 91 is talking about power to close the register. Can I close it? The answer is yes. But how much? In an aggregate, within throughout the year, it should not be more than 45 days and not exceeding more than 30 days at one point of time. Whenever you're making such closures, an advertisement has to be given. Section 92 talks about your annual return. Annual return means once in a year, you are going to give the details of who you are, where are you from. All those details have to be captured as a part of your annual return. If you remember, we had seen our annual return as well. Do you remember? Which form is it? MGT 7. MGT 7. All right, we've seen MGT 7 as well, how it looks like. And in case 93 has been omitted, 94, if I want to keep my register somewhere else, can I do so? It has to be kept at the registered office. If you want to keep it somewhere else, then 1/10 of the members should reside in that location. All right. Section 95 talks about registers, etc., are to be considered as an evidence. If there is anything tomorrow, if any issue comes up, then I'm going to consider these registers as an evidence before the court of law. All right. Section 96 talks about AGM. Extremely important is from examination perspective is AGM, ordinary business, special business. Ordinary business, adda points. All right. This comes into picture only in case of annual general meeting. Does it come into picture in extraordinary general meeting? The answer is no. No. I repeat, on screen, 100% focus. 100% focus. I repeat the entire chart. I repeat the entire chart. You'll have to pay attention. All right. Now, business can be of two types. Doctor handwriting, 100% focus. You'll have to pay attention to what I speak along with what I write. All right. So business can be of two types, ordinary business and special business. What is ordinary business? Adda points in AGM is going to be called as ordinary business in case of companies. Now, what are adda points? Adoption of books of account, declaration of dividend, appointment of directors, appointment of auditors and deciding their remuneration. Very important. Don't forget deciding the remuneration. All right. In AGM, it is going to be called as ordinary resolution, ordinary business. For ordinary business, always ordinary resolution. For ordinary business, always ordinary resolution. All right. The same things if I discuss. The same things if I discuss in case of EGM. All right. Same adda points if I discuss in EGM. Is it going to be ordinary business? No, it is going to be considered as special business. Now, the same if I discuss anything else in the AGM, apart from the adda points, is it going to be ordinary business? No, it is special business. The moment it is special business, what I have to do? I have to give an explanatory statement discussing what exactly this matter is all about. Same, if you remember, Infosys or Wipro, we had seen how they have defined what is special business, what type of resolution is being passed. Now, special business, always special resolution, true or false? True or false? Special business, always special resolution. Slap yourself if you're telling true. Slap yourself if you're telling true. It is not possible, sir, because there are so many matters where even by ordinary resolution, I can pass a special business. All right. Ordinary business, always ordinary resolution. True or false?
True.
Just now we have discussed ordinary business, always ordinary resolution. Special business, maybe special resolution, ordinary resolution, or unanimous resolution, depending on the matter. Unanimous resolution. Example, quick. Entrenchment of articles of association. Just now we have discussed. Continue. So when it comes to your annual general meeting, there are two types of matters which comes into picture: ordinary business, special business. All right. Every company other than an OBC shall have at least in every year you're going to hold an annual general meeting along with your other meetings if you want to. If you remember, when should it be held? First meeting within 15 months, within 18 months calculation that we had done, within 6 months from the end of the financial year. At least the time gap between two meetings, two AGMs should not be more than 15 months. Do you remember all of these things that we had discussed? Yes. Adjournment in case of AGM, automatically getting adjourned to the next week, same time, same place. Couple of other things that we had discussed, if you remember. All right. So AGM is important. Section 97 talks about power of the tribunal to call for an AGM. In case if you have defaulted in meeting, all right, in organizing an AGM, the tribunal can go ahead on an application made. Tribunal can ask for your AGM to be held. Section 98 talks about power of the tribunal to call for the meeting of the members, etc. Where it is because of some reason, if I'm not able to get the AGM as well being held, or because of some other topic I want to discuss, then the tribunal has all the power to call for a meeting. Example, all the creditors want to meet. Can they call for a meeting? Yes. Then what they have to do, they have to make an application to the tribunal, and tribunal is going to order for such meetings. Understanding? This is about your 98. 99, sir, you yelled at the top of your voice, but we will not follow. No problem. Whatever the penalty is, to the extent of 1 lakh rupees and for 5,000 rupees every day for the continuing failures. 100 talks about calling of extraordinary general meeting. Very, very important. Very, very important. If you ask me if they want to ask questions on meetings, they can ask only in this attempt. Only in this stage of CA, because you don't have this topic in your CA final. So pay attention. What is your meetings can be of 2 types. One is your AGM, meetings of members I'm talking about. Okay. One is your AGM, one is your EGM. Anything other than AGM is EGM. As simple as that. Anything other than AGM is EGM. Now, who can call for an EGM? EGM has to be called for. It has to be based on request. Who can be a requestness? It can be board of directors, it can be members, or it can be tribunals. Note, I want you to ensure you always use the language members and not shareholders. Why? Because there is a difference between the word members and shareholders. CA final cleared. Hey, congratulations. Are you a chartered accountant? Answer is no. Until and unless your name is reflecting in the register of members, you cannot call yourself as a chartered accountant. The same way when it comes to a shareholder and members as well. All right. Now, the board to initiate the meetings within 21 days and to have the meeting not later than 45 days, failing which the requisitionist can call for a meeting. The reasonable expenses have to be borne. What is this? Sir, in the moment request has been placed, you have to call for a meeting, 21 days. Sir, you have failed 45 days also. If you haven't called, then the requisitionist can himself call for a meeting. Then himself can call for a meeting. And this is what we had discussed. Again, when it comes to AGM, clear days, clear notice days, 21 clear days, all of that calculation, you have to remember what is included, what is excluded, all of those we had touched upon. All right. Section 101 talks about your notice of meeting. Just now, whatever we spoke, 21 clear days. Notice can be in writing or in electronic mode, where you have to place what is the details. Can I have a shorter notice? Instead of 21 clear days, I want only 14 days. Can I have a shorter notice? The answer is yes, if provided 95% of your shareholders are agreeing. All right, depending on the type of meeting. Then section 102. Statement to be annexed to the notice. If at all there is any special business or special notice, then an explanatory statement has to be given. What is an explanatory statement? It has to talk about what the matter is. All right. Then quorum for meeting. It is covered as a part of your public companies. Depending on the number of shareholders, you're going to have a quorum. What is quorum? Quorum is the minimum number of members who should be there physically for the purpose of meeting, or else it will not be considered as a meeting. In case of private companies, 2 members physically there. Within 30 minutes, if you don't get the quorum, then the meeting shall stand adjourned. If the meeting is cancelled, is called by the requisitionist, it stands cancelled. All right. If you don't get, if it is an AGM, all right. And if you don't get the quorum within 30 minutes, it'll get adjourned. If it is an EGM and if it is called by the shareholders or members, if you don't get an AGM, if you don't get the quorum, it's going to be cancelled. All right. Section 104 talks about the chairman who's going to preside over the meeting. Section 105 talks about the proxy. Same classic discussion that we had, school days, college days. All right. Someone giving proxy on your behalf. What is going to happen? This entire thing you will have to remember, provided proxy is legal even in college. Only then you'll be able to connect, or else you'll end up giving wrong answers. All right. Now, section 106 is restriction on voting rights. Can I have voting rights? The answer is yes. Can equity shareholders vote? Answer is yes. Of course, if not, then don't vote. Can preference shareholders get voting rights? Answer is 100% yes. They have voting rights, but on limited matters which affect them directly. Are there exceptions? Yes. If you have not made the payment for the of dividend for 2 continuous years and couple of other things that you remember, if it is winding up and those situations, 100% preference shareholders also have a right to vote. Then voting can be of a couple of types. Voting by share or show of hand, voting through electronic means will come into picture. If it is 1,000 shareholders or more, you have to ensure that electronic voting facility is given. Demand for poll, then postal ballot, circulation of members' resolution, whatever the resolutions are passed, that has to be circulated. Representation of the president and governor, whoever is the representative. Since president and governor, I presume they might be busy, so they can't come for the meeting, so they can hire someone else. That person can come and attend all the meetings, and that person will be representative under section 112. Section 113 talks about representation of corporations at meetings. Example, company, Infosys holds 99% in your company. Can Infosys come and walk in your meeting? The answer is no. So they are going to appoint someone as a representative who's going to be attending your meetings, and that person is covered under section 113. Resolutions can be of 3 types. 100% focus. Though on screen you can see 2, but it is of 3 types. Ordinary resolution, simple majority. Special resolution, conditions have to be satisfied. Unanimous resolution, 100%. What is a special resolution? At least the number of votes in favor should be 3 times as that of the number of votes against. All right. It's not 75%. Mind you, guys, I know you know 3 by 4 is 75%. For that also, you'll use a calculator. It's a separate issue. But having said that, remember, it is 3 by 4 and it is not 75%. Time and again, students end up writing 75% and they lose marks. But wait, that's it. Is that sufficient? Answer is no. In the notice, you have to specifically mention that it will be cleared through a special resolution. Second thing, you have to give an explanatory statement on that topic. And the third thing, number of votes in favor should be more than 3 times that of the votes under or against the topic. Only then it will be called as a special resolution. Does my answer end here? Answer is no. NGT 14 has to be filed. Don't forget, one of the most important. This, sir, you have yelled at the top of your voice, but we don't remember. It's okay. But now you please make a point. Whenever special resolution comes into picture, special form NGT 14 has to be filed. We had discussed this, if you remember. Yes. Then we go on to understand section 115. Wherever special resolution is required, you will have to ensure how the notice looks like. Resolution passed at the adjourned meeting. All right. Whenever a resolution is passed at the adjourned meeting, the details of the same has to be furnished. Section 117, resolution and agreement has to be filed with the ROC. The things that you see in green are exceptions. All right, those are updates in the or amendments in the entire act. All right, section 118 talks about minutes of meeting, how you have to maintain what all has to be captured, who's going to sign the minutes of meeting. Expecting a question, who can sign the minutes of meeting? Extremely important. All right, extremely important, who can sign the minutes of meeting. Section 119 talks about inspection. If you want to go ahead and check the minutes of meeting, can you do so? The answer is yes, at the registered office. Section 120 talks about maintenance and inspection of documents in electronic form. Can you, whatever documents are there, can it be maintained in electronic form? No problem at all, 100% you can. Section 121 talks about report on AGM, which is nothing but your annual report, if you remember. All right, every listed company has to give the details of their section 121 rather is every listed company has to prepare in a prescribed form the report on their AGM, which includes all the details of how the matter was done, and that has to be reported and given to your registrar. Section 122 talks about OPC. What all is applicable to the OPC, what all details have to be captured in their annual return, annual report. Extremely important. This has to be captured. And please remember, OPC is extremely important topic. All right. With this, we are done with chapter 7. We come to dividend. Section 123 talks about declaration of dividend. First thing, you can declare dividend provided it is from your current year's sources, or it can be of past years. All right. Or if the central government in itself has given some agreement, or it has agreed, or it has guaranteed some amount, then you can use that also as a source to give your dividend. Now, can I use my past year's profits? The answer is this year I don't have profit. Last year I had profits. Can I use my reserves for declaring dividend? Answer is yes, but there are a few conditions which you have to satisfy. Only then you can go ahead and declare dividend. Then section 124 talks about your unpaid dividend. All right. Whatever amount is there, first thing that you're going to do is amount which is there in your dividend, which you intend to pay, that has to be parked in another account. That has to be parked in another account within 5 days. If you don't park it, then it's going to be a problem. Within the days, within those, the moment it is parked in another account, you have to ensure that you make the remittance of that amount to the shareholders. If you are not able to remit that amount to the shareholders within the specified time, it has to be transferred to another account called as unpaid dividend account. You are going to keep that amount for a couple of years. If you are not able to make the payment from your unpaid dividend account, then it is going to be transferred to your IPF. All right, then it is going to be transferred to your IPF. Now, whatever is there in your unpaid dividend account, it has to be put up on your website or any other portal which the government has given. Whatever amount is there in your IPF, 100% focus for 7 consecutive years. If that dividend of that particular person is lying in IPF itself, then not just the dividend, even the shares of that person will get transferred to the IPF. Not just the dividend, along with the shares. For how many years? Consecutive 7 years. If the dividend of that person is going to the IPF, not just the dividend, even the shares. Do you remember? Yes, no. Now, this is the concept of your unpaid dividend account. All right. Then we go on to understand section 125, which talks about your IPF. Section 126 talks about right of the dividend to be held in abeyance. Now, what is this? Sir, let's assume Chaitra has transferred the shares to me. All right. The problem is now in this situation, transfer has happened, sir, but it has not been registered in the members register. And the company wants to declare dividend. Now, to whom should it give? To Chaitra or to me? Ideally, as on date, on the records, Chaitra is the member, but I am the real owner. If you see, I am the real owner. Now, I will not agree if the money goes to Chaitra. Why? Because I've already paid Chaitra and taken the shares. Now, in this case, the company has the right to keep these shares in abeyance. What is the meaning of this? Not just the shares, the rights to dividend, bonus issue, or any other such right associated with such shares, it can be kept in abeyance. Keep it on hold. Don't give it to anyone. After it is clear to whom it should be given, then you pass on the benefit to that respective person. Now, this is what section 126 is talking about. Understanding, everyone? Yes. Then we go on to section 127. Sir, you've yelled at the top of your voice. We will not follow. No problem. Dividend has its own rigorous penalties and punishments. Very, very important thing. I have a question. Deposits, I have failed to repay. I failed to repay deposits. Can I declare dividend? Answer is no, you can't. Expect a question. Expect a question. Deposits, you failed. Congratulations, but you want to now share the benefits of this with your members. Can you do so? Losses, wait, control. Whatever you have to pay to an outsider, first you pay them. After that, you pay your members. All right. You can't start enjoying on someone else's money. As simple as that. All right. This is the concept of your failures and what can come into picture. So chapter 9 talks about your accounts of companies. Section 128 talks about books of account. Now, there is a very, very important amendment which has come into picture. 100% focus. Can I begin? Can I begin? Yes. Section 129, if you went 128, if you remember, there was a proviso. First, 128 talks about books of account, etc. to be kept by company. I hope you remember the relevance of the word etc. in detail, how much we dealt into it. All right. First thing, books of account, books and papers, two different topics altogether. All right. Both of them have been defined under section 2 clause 12 and 2 clause 13. All right. Now listen to me very carefully. Stop fidgeting with things around. Listen to me. All right. Now, books of account have to be kept at the registered office. Can you keep it somewhere else? You will have to pass a special resolution and whatever the board of directors can agree and a couple of other things revolving around that. Not special resolution, rather the board of directors have to agree and a board resolution has to be passed. But however, within 7 days, you will have to inform your daddy. Now, the most important thing is, listen. There was a proviso under section 128 which says, if you're maintaining books of accounts in accounting format, in accounting software packages, then you have to ensure that there is an audit trail and an edit log is being kept. Excuse me. And an edit log is captured. All right. This was applicable from 1st April 22. There is an amendment. Congratulations, my future chartered accountants. This is applicable now from 1st April 2023. Not from 22. There's an amendment. All right. Will they ask a question? Given the fact that they have deferred, it may not come in examination because it's not even relevant as on date. All right. It is applicable from 1st April 2023 and not 22. There's an amendment. Whatever you see on screen, green color. All right. This has been updated to 2023. I hope I'm clear, everyone. All right. So the same concept applies. Financial statement, section 129. It talks about what all financial statements have to be there. Double entry system, accounting, it has to be on accrual basis. And very important thing, consolidated financial statements are covered under section 129, subsection 3. You have a chapter, if I'm not wrong, called consolidation. Yes. So in detail, respective rules, joint ventures, subsidiary, what is subsidiary, whether it is mutatis mutandis, what is the format, whether JVs are covered within the concept of associate company or not. Definition under section 2 clause 6, what is an associate? Excuse me. What is an associate company? All of these we had discussed in length and breadth, if you remember. Typos on your electronic book, if you remember, I'd shown what was the error, how they missed out, what was the notification revolving around that, if you remember. Yes. So, Tejaswini there in the session. Rashmi, section 129A talks about periodical financial statements, which is effective from January 22. Now, what is this? This is applicable for a couple of companies. Periodical results have to be given. Now, what is periodicity? That the government has to decide. You will have to file these details with your registrar. There is a concept of LR which comes into picture, which is nothing but your limited review. All right. This is the concept where I told you, Infosys. There are a couple of my friends who sit in Infosys campus almost for days together, more than going home. They stay in the PGs of Infosys because there's a concept of LR. What is LR? Limited review or an audit of their quarterly financial statements. Because within 45 days, there's a SEBI regulation. Anyways, a separate topic altogether. The details have to be furnished in the periodic financial statements or in the newspapers. So this is what your periodical financial statement is all about. Section 130 talks about reopening of accounts on tribunal's order. Now, this is, you've done a blunder. There's a fraudulent reporting. And if the courts get to know, then the court can ask to reopen your books of account. Example, Satyam. Their books of accounts were reopened. Do you remember? Yes. Now, this is 130 is court is forcing you to open. Section 131 is you voluntarily asking them to revise because there's an error. You found that there's an error and you want the books of account to be opened. For how many years can you open? Very, very important. Very, very important. You can't open it for more than the specified years. How many years? 2 or 3?
3 years.
How many years? Very, very important. You cannot open for more than 3 preceding financial years. Are you guys understanding, everyone? Yes. Then section 132 talks about your NFRA. Earlier it was NACAS, then it became NFRA. What is NFRA's role? We had learned the entire provision as well. 133 talks about your accounting standards. 134 talks about your financial statements and board's report. If you remember, we saw AOC 4, how a management's report looks like, what all details are to be there. Very, very important thing that you have to remember under section 134 subsection 5 is director's responsibility statement. There's something called as DRS. If you remember, not your decision reviews in cricket, I'm talking about director's responsibility statement, 100% focus. All right. So now DRS is coming. Very, very important. Who's going to sign these things and what is going to be the signatures, what all details have to be captured under your board report. Don't enter the examination hall without reading CSR. Section 135 has been amended. Multiple notifications have come up only on CSR. COVID related points. How much is the contribution? Who can make the contribution? What is the amount? How are you going to take the entire contribution? What can you use it for? What will happen if you don't use it for? If you've generated profits, what will come into picture? All of these things are extremely important. And we discussed this, if you remember. Probably if time permits, I'm going to take you through the notification again. Section 136 talks about the right of the members. If you want the books of, if you want a copy of the financial statements, you can ask for it. 137 talks about the copy of the financial statements, which you have to file with the registrar. All right. 138, extremely important, internal audit. How do you remember? How do you remember ILCD? Public companies. Listed public companies, close your eyes, it is applicable irrespective of your ILCD. All right. Public unlisted companies, or rather unlisted public companies, ILCD 200, 100, 50, 25. Private companies, all right. For private companies, it's going to be 200, 100, 50, 25, not applicable. 50, 25, not applicable. Now, what is I? I stands for your turnover, L stands for your loans, C stands for capital, D stands for deposits. Understood, everyone? Yes. So 4 conditions. ILCD, important from exam perspective, you can expect a case study on this. Now let's quickly jump into your negotiable instruments. Quick, 100% focus. All right. We have exactly 15 minutes. I hope you guys are able to understand and it's not like a Shatabdi Express running at its own speed. Able to recall, friends? I'm sure you might not be able to remember everything, but at least you're able to recall. Now, I hope you haven't started. I'm sure you will start your preparations after today's session, right? For the subject. Yes. So goes unsaid, this is a trailer and you have the entire movie to watch. Is the screen visible? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. Don't enter the examination hall without knowing the year. You have to make it a point. When you're preparing today, the first thing that you're going to do is write the name of the act, which year, name of the act, which year. You will make mistakes. 1872, 1881, 1932, all Bhelpuris will come into picture. Don't do that blunder. Ensure that you write down on a piece of paper which act and what is the year. All right, because your answer is complete only with the section number and section of which act, and that act is complete only after mentioning which year it belongs to. Example, Companies Act, which year? 2013, 1956. Who under the sky will get to know until and unless you mention it. All right, so therefore, negotiable instruments have been defined under section 13. Negotiable instrument means promissory note, bill of exchange, checks. Does my answer end here? No. If you're just writing here, your answers will not even be evaluated because the entire negotiability is based on these phrases. All right, on these words. Payable either to the order or to the bearer of the instrument. All right. Promissory note has been defined under section 4. Section 5 talks about your bills of exchange and section 6 talks about your check. Very important thing from your promissory note is banknote and currency note are not covered within the ambit of your instrument in writing. Again, if you remember on screen, we had seen what a banknote looks like, RBI and central government, different things, different issues. All right. Then accepted for honor. Who's an accepted for honor? Your karma, your papa, someone else is bearing it. All right. What you should have done, someone else is doing it. That is called as accepted for honor in simple terms. All right. If it is an undertaking by the third party to accept and pay the bill of exchange that was dishonored, either by non-acceptance or by non-payment by a party on whom it was drawn, it is called as acceptance supra protest. Now, what is going to happen in examination? The paper is not difficult. They will use their synonyms. All right. The paper is not difficult. They will use their other names. Example. Instead of accepted for honor, they will ask you to write a short note on acceptance supra protest. There. Hit wicket. completely gone. We will not even remember what we have spoken about. So ensure whenever you're preparing for examination, please in the last page, whenever any topic has synonyms or they've used, they are being called by any other topic, ensure you make a note of all of these things. You make a note of all of these things, because 15 minutes before the examination, or maybe that one day which you get before examination, more than enough to ensure that you're safe by getting 80 plus by ensuring that you know all of these things. Section 112 and 111 talks about your rights and liabilities of the accepted by honor holder is covered under section 8. Here exceptions are important because they're going to talk who is a holder in due course. If you remember, a person who in his own name is having a right to receive or recover, only then that person is going to be called as holder. All right, holder in due course, who for a consideration has become a possessor and is payable only during the course, and he's the one who can remove all the defects in the title. Our Abhimanyu, if you remember, the Superman in our entire discussion. Yes. So this person is the one who is entitled to receive the money and who can remove all the defects in the entire stretch. Even if there are defects, that can be removed. Exception? Forgery. Basic, it is basic. All right, forgery is the only exception. For those of you not able to remember, easy to remember, you guys forging your parents' signatures in the diary, in your school diaries. If you remember, in your college diaries, of course, most of you think, sir, which college has diary? My college had. Which college? Google. Now, holder in due course is done, section 9. Then what are the benefits of being a holder in due course? Extremely important. You're going to hold a privileged position. Very, very important. You can have the right to recover the amount from all the previous parties. Very important language that you will have to remember is you have the right. The moment you are a holder in due course, you are that Abhimanyu who can purge all the defects which were existing. Only defect which you can't purge is forgery, because a holder in due course also does not get a valid title. Now, in examination, there was one of the attempts where they had asked, write a short note on inchoate instruments. If you don't know what is inchoate instrument, you will not be able to write. Inchoate instrument means incomplete instrument. As simple as that. Ambiguous instrument. Ambiguous. Name itself says confused, like you guys. All right, I don't know what it is. Whether it is a bills of exchange or promissory note, even I don't know. Ambiguous, ambiguity. All right. So this is your ambiguous instrument. Inland bill, foreign bill, 3 conditions have to be satisfied. Drawn on a payer, drawn on a person in India, made by a person in India, and is payable in India. Only if these 3 conditions are satisfied, then it's going to be called as an inland bill. If any of these are not satisfied, then it will be considered as a foreign bill. All right. Demand instrument, time instrument. Demand means there is a specified time. Whenever it is demanded, you will have to make the payment. Time instrument, there is a specified period of time. Only after that time elapses, you can go ahead and get the money. Example, demand instrument, checks. Only when you demand, you're going to get. Banker is not a relative. Next. Endorsement, section 15. It is one and the same. Don't get confused. In examination, they're going to ask you, write a short note on endorsement. You got completely confused. Endorsement, one of the same. Endorser, one of the same. Yes, it is one and the same. Don't get confused. I had asked this question during our sessions as well. Now, endorsements are nothing but wherein you are signing up and giving the rights to another person. What is a launch? A launch is a slip of paper. All right, a slip of paper which you can use for the purpose of endorsement. Now, types of endorsement, important from exam perspective: endorsement in blank, endorsement in full, partial endorsement, restrictive endorsement, and conditional endorsement. Conditional endorsement can be of 4 types: sans recourse, liability dependent upon a contingency, facultative endorsement, and sans phrase endorsement. Please ensure you go through all the 4 important from exam perspective. Maturity date. All right, payable at the end of 1 month, payable after 30 days. Both are different. Are you guys understanding? We had solved a couple of questions here as well. Ensure that you spend some time here. Capacity to contract. Every person who can contract can enter into a negotiable instrument as well. Any person who is authorized agent can enter into a negotiable instrument. All right, can issue a negotiable instrument. Can a minor become a party to the negotiable instrument? He may draw, endorse, deliver, and negotiate to bind all the parties except for himself. If you remember, you have a minor bank account. We had a discussion on the minor bank account. Can a minor have a bank account? The answer is yes. But can he issue checks or not? Couple of things that we had revolved around. All right. You didn't get a checkbook. There was a reason. All right. Discharge of endorser's liability. When does it come to an end? Acceptance of a bill drawn in fictitious name. What is this? Z, a person who never existed. On him, a bill of exchange was drawn, and that was accepted by you. You know that Z never existed, but still you've accepted it. On the due date, Z says, I don't exist. I'm not going to make a payment. Can you file a case? The answer is no, because you've yourself accepted it. And this is section 42, which talks about acceptance of a bill drawn in fictitious name. What is material alteration? Any changes in the date, time, amount, place, etc. without the consent of the other parties is called as material alteration. What is non-material alteration is important from exam perspective. Write a short note on what does not constitute a material alteration. Filling the blanks, converting blank endorsement into full endorsement, crossing of check, general crossing to special crossing. Any other alteration with the consent is not going to be called as a material alteration. Stolen or lost instrument. All right. The moment it is stolen, will the finder get a valid title? The answer is no. He's not going to get a valid title. Very important thing. Can you request for another instrument? Can you ask for a duplicate instrument? The answer is yes. You can ask, provided you give the guarantee of an indemnification. If the other person does not give you still the instrument, then you can force him. You can sue him upon for the purpose of another instrument. All right. Negotiable instruments without consideration. Can you have? The answer is no. Negotiable instruments must be for a consideration. Exception, two exception. One is accommodation bill or your kite bills, if you remember. All right. Accommodation bills or kite bills. Sleepy, failure to perform or partial performances are also covered within the perspective of your within the discussion of your exceptions to conditions. Holders' right to duplicate loss bill, we have already discussed. You have to give them a guarantee, provided you have all the security. You're giving him the security, then the other person has no option but to give you a duplicate bill. Or if he doesn't give so, then you can compel him. When is the instrument discharged? By payment, by release, or by cancellation. Any of these three things comes into picture, then the instrument is discharged. What is the meaning of the word instrument being discharged? That does not have any more validity. It is as good as a nullity the moment it is discharged. All right. Drawing discharge by allowing drawing more than 48 hours. All right. I have given an instrument to Dhruvi. I have asked her to accept it. If Dhruvi has given it to Skanda, Skanda has given it to Divya, Divya has given it to Anaga, Anaga has given to another person who's yawning. Now in this entire discussion, let's assume Anaga has given that person, since the other person is sleeping and I know who's that person, you know who's that person is given more than 48 hours to accept. All the other parties are discharged. All the other parties are discharged. Tomorrow, Anaga can't come and recover the money from anyone else. Neither she can recover it from any of the earlier parties because you have given more than 48 hours. I hope I'm clear, everyone. All right. This is the concept of giving more than 48 hours. Dishonor by non-acceptance. If the other person is not accepting, then this bill will be considered as dishonor by non-acceptance. Dishonor by non-payment. Please note this has been kept aside in your syllabus. There's a notification which has come wherein your dishonor by non-acceptance and dishonor by non-payment has been I'll show the notification. Hold on, I'll show the notification itself. Notice of dishonor. The moment a particular notice has been dishonored, a particular instrument has been dishonored, you will have to convey it to the other party that it has been dishonored. If you don't convey it, then the other parties are going to be discharged of their responsibilities. All right. Then notice of dishonor is unnecessary in the following scenario where you don't have to give the notice, and a couple of scenarios which will come into picture. Discharge of the parties or parties. When will the parties not be responsible anymore? In these scenarios, the parties will be discharged of their liabilities. Penalties in case of dishonor. Section 138, bounce of check bounce. Can you use this language? The answer is, for God's sake, please don't use this language. I repeat, don't use this language. Bouncing of check, all that which you think about those language. That language cannot be used in examination. The only language which is acceptable is dishonor because of insufficiency of funds. Now note, what is this? Again, for the payment to another person for the discharge of liability is returned by the bank unpaid because the amount is insufficient or it exceeds the amount which has been agreed upon, such person shall be deemed to have committed a fraud. What is the punishment? Committed an offense rather. What is the punishment? Punishment can be up to 2 years or with a fine which may extend twice the amount of the check, or with both. All right. Compoundable, non-compoundable. Compoundable or non-compoundable offense? Sir, what is this? We never spoke about it. This is for the first time we are hearing. Don't tell me. I have discussed, I remember. All right. The problem is, I remember. It's a compoundable offense. All right. What is non-compoundable? You have no option. Shut up and go to the jail. Compoundable, you can compound it. You can jump the compound by paying fine. As simple as that. Easy to remember. You can jump the compound by paying the fine. All right. What is non-compoundable? There's no compound. Shut up and stay within the imprisonment. All right. So this is the concept of compoundable offense. Now, non-applicability of this section. This section does not apply provided it is within the validity period. All right. Next, demand for the payment has been given. You have given the notice to the other party and you have given 30 days. The other party has made the payment within 15 days, then you can't do anything. You will have to wait. All right. Offenses which are committed by the companies, in case of such offense under section 138 is committed by a company, every officer who has idea of the offense will be responsible for this. All right. The next chapter is your general clauses act. As the name it says, general topic, very simple topic. It is applicable wherever the act is applicable. If any particular provision is applicable, to simplify the objective, to simplify the entire act, we come up with general clauses act. All right. What is the objective? Important to know. Ensure that you remember the objective of this act: to generalize and to shorten the language, to provide as far as possible uniformity in the expression, to state explicitly what are the convenient rules and regulations, and to guard against any slips and oversights. Now, application of this act, does it apply to Kashmir? Does this act apply to Jammu Kashmir? Don't tell about Article 370A and all of that. Control. I know all my friends are extremely smart and read newspaper every day. I know, and even you know how much you do. Listen to me very carefully now. This act follows like a watchdog. Same example, same talk. All right. It follows like a shadow. Wherever the act goes, this goes. If the act is applicable, this is applicable. If the act is not applicable, this is not applicable. As simple as that. Understood? Next, you have to remember a couple of definitions. What is the preamble and what are the couple of definitions? What are the types of definition? Important thing which you can expect in examination is, this was asked once in one of the examination, what is good faith? Write a short note on good faith. If you remember what is good faith, even we weren't sure, even the act wasn't sure. If you remember, because they gave a Supreme Court ruling, all right, where first thing, good faith, even if you've done something, even if it is stupid, but if you've done with all honesty, all right, then it is considered as good faith. But Supreme Court ruling reversed it. If you're stupid, how can I consider it to be done as in good faith? Do you remember this? Yes, no.
Yes,
all right.
Yes.
So let's quickly see. Section 3, subsection 2 or 22. All right. Talks about this. A thing shall be done in good faith where it is done honestly, whether it is done negligently or not. The question of good faith under the question of good faith under the General Clauses Act is one fact. All right. It is to determine with reference to the circumstances of each case. You have to remember this case law, Mong Ang Pu versus Mong Si Mong. If you don't remember the case law, at least remember the verdict which they came up with, which says, sir, negligence is not acceptable. It has to be what a man of ordinary prudence does. All right. Next, official gazette, what is applicable, what is not applicable, general rules on construction. What is important is, from here, you have to remember, how do we commence time? When is the time commencing? When is the termination of time? All right. How do you compute time? Extremely important. All right. Measurement of distance. This in itself was asked for 2 marks MCQ. Now note, your MCQ need not be of 1 marker. It can be of 2 marks as well. All right. This in itself was asked for 2 marks. How do you measure the distance? Note, they have not used the language aerially. They've not used the language aerially. In your income tax, you might have learned the language aerially. Please don't apply it as it is. They've used the language plain horizontal. It's a separate story that plain horizontal is possible only if you measure it aerially. But don't use the language aerially in your examination. Am I making sense? Yes. Even after mentioning this, if this comes in examination, I know 50% of this crowd is going to write aerially. If you do, difference between one attempt and the second attempt is going to be this answer. As simple as that. All right. I repeat, in the measurement of any distance for the purpose of any act, the distance shall be on different intentions appear a straight line on a horizontal plane. I repeat, they have not used the language aerially. Don't use it. The problem is highlighting what mistakes you do might become a mistake in itself. I don't want to take that chance. Anyways, for those of you who didn't understand, gender and number. Your masculine gender includes feminine and your singular includes plural and vice versa. Construction of orders. Please note, whenever you're reading law, it has to be contemporaneous and you have to read with the corresponding notification, rules, orders. All right. Then section 27, 4 marker. Once this was asked, how do you serve a post? All right. Our notice has to be sent. Please note, speed post or registered post. And the payment has to be made. Don't forget that. All right. Payment has to be made and then sent. Don't expect the entire world to be as golden hearted as you are. All right. Properly addressed, prepaid and posted by registered post. Very, very important. This was asked in examination. All right. Then can one offense be punished twice? Answer is no. You can be tried twice, but you can't be punished twice. What is the meaning of this? You can be covered under different provision, but the punishment is going to be the same. All right. This is about your General Clauses Act. Now we go to your interpretation of statute. What is statute? What is document? What is instrument? What is deed? Extremely important. Remember, you make a note of difference between document, instrument, and deed. Can be asked in examination. Write a short note on distinguishing between document, instrument, and deed. What time do you have any session after this? No, right?
No, sir.
Take another extra 10 minutes if you guys don't mind. Of course, why would you? This is a revision. All right. So difference between document, instrument, and deed, extremely important. You will have to make a note of it. What is interpretation? Very, very important. When there is ambiguity, when there is confusion, only then interpretation will come into picture. When it is crystal clear, you can't apply the interpretation because it is crystal clear. You have to attend the session and listen to me with focus. Interpretation will come into picture because you want. There will be ambiguity. There will be confusion. I repeat, 100% focus. Whenever there is ambiguity, whenever there is confusion, only then interpretation will come into picture. When there is a possibility of dual understanding, when there is a possibility of any conflict of understanding, only then your interpretation comes into picture. I hope I am clear. All right. Next, rules of interpretation can be primary rules, secondary rules. First one, rule of literal construction, read the way it is. Rule of reasonable construction, please be very, very reasonable whenever you're reading. May can become shall can become may, based on the requirement. Rule of harmonious construction, whenever you're reading law, ensure that you're harmonizing as much as possible. All right. However, if there is no possibility, then latter will prevail over former. Specific will prevail over general. We have discussed all of this. Do you remember? Latter provision of a rule is going to apply before the in comparison to the earlier law. All right. Specific law is going to override the general law. Section 43, if you remember, or rather section 47 that we had discussed, 45 that we had discussed, capital gain, partnership, land, building, 50B, 50C, 50A, a couple of things that we discussed around this. Do you remember? Yes. So yes. This is all about your rule of harmonious construction. Rule of beneficial construction, also called rule of beneficial construction, also called. Go on. This is a place where you're going to. That's why I told you. Hayden's rule. 100% focus. All right. Rule of beneficial construction is also called as Hayden's rule or rule of mischief. If you remember, mischief. Whenever you're reading law, it should not be a mischievous construction. You should not play around with law as per your convenience. Hayden's rule, expect a question. All right. Then rule of exceptional construction. At times you might have to construct it exceptionally. Example, may shall be interpreted as shall will be interpreted as may. Example, a company may be incorporated for the purpose of carrying out any legal business. Does not mean that you're given an opportunity of carrying out illegal business. All right. Rule of existence generis. Whenever I'm using the language lion, tiger, etc., the word etc. is going to derive its meaning from the preceding words, and this is called as rule of existence generis. Now, coming on to your secondary rule, effect of usages and associated words to be understood in common sense manner. Example, toiletry, the same example that I'd given. All right, the word toiletry here has to be understood as perfumes, or is it something else? Same example. Do you remember? Yes. Next. Primary rule, we have discussed the rules. Next, it comes to secondary rules. Expressio unius est exclusio alterius. Land, building, coal mine clearly excludes your gold mine. I hope I recall. All right. Land, building, coal mine excludes your iron ores, iron mines, gold mines, all of those mines, because expressly mentioning one of the types is clearly excluding every other type. You can't cover it under land because I've specifically mentioned only coal mine. Same example. I'm not even changing the example. All right. Next, nociter resources, construction of associated words. Whenever you're using the words, it has to derive its meaning from the analogous. Difference between rule of existence generis and nociter resources is rule of existence generis. We use some general words, etc., others, and all of those kind of general words. But when it comes to nociter resources, we use specific words, but those words are going to get their meaning from the associated words. This is what nociter resources is. Contemporaneous expositio, whenever you're reading law, you have to ensure that you read the law as per its situation which was existing when the law was passed. All right. Next, internal aids of interpretation. There are various things which are covered as a part of your law. A law is divided into title. It has a chapter, again, short title, your long title, preamble, marginal notes, definitional sections, illustration. Please note, ensure you read what is a proviso and what are the objects of inserting a proviso and what is an explanation and what are the different types or objects of having an explanation. All right. Then 3 words which we use: without prejudice. What is the meaning of the word without prejudice? Whatever I talk is irrespective what is given, or rather is dependent. I'm not going to correct whatever I've told earlier. I stand by whatever I've told earlier. But keeping that aside, I still have the following points to make. All right. That is when you use the word without prejudice. Second, notwithstanding, also called as non-obstante clause. I repeat, notwithstanding the fact that Deepa is sleeping, everyone is focused. All right. If you're not, the whole point is notwithstanding you are sleeping, listen to me carefully. I don't care about anything else. Listen to whatever I've spoken. That is the meaning of the word notwithstanding. All right. Notwithstanding is going to override everything else which has been mentioned. Understanding, everyone? Subject to. What is the meaning of the word subject to? I am dependent on the provisions, on the other provisions. Subject to your availability, we can discuss the RTP, meaning depending on your availability, I will discuss your RTP. This is what your subject to word has. Extremely important. Notwithstanding is also called as non-obstante clause. All right. This in itself is an MCQ in your November 22 RTP. All right. Next. November 22 RTP has this in itself as an MCQ. I think that's about it. I'll spend quick 5 minutes on revising your CSR. All right. That's extremely important from exam perspective. Guys, I know I've gone beyond time. 8:30, I know it was supposed to be wrapped up, but given the volume, I might have to spend another 10-15 minutes. I hope that's okay. Important from exam perspective, ensure that you read the definition of public company, because there are a few exceptions which have been carved out from your public company. What is not a listed company, rather not public company, it's listed company. Okay. So ensure you read the definition of listed company carefully. If at all a particular class of companies which are listed, convertible debentures, if you're listed somewhere else, and a couple of other things which are covered, ensure that you read the definition of listed company and then enter examination hall. There is an amendment. We have discussed this in length and breadth. If you remember what is called as, what is carved out from the definition of listed company, what will happen, why people play around, what is mandatory. There's something called a SPAC, where you want to list yourself outside India, you're a loss-making entity in India, you can't list because of XYZ reason, but you want to list outside India. But if you want to do that, you have to be listed in India. Do you remember? No, sir. Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let's spend some time on CSR. Guys, extremely important topic. Don't enter examination hall without reading CSR rules. All right. This is called as your CSR rules. Now, what is important? You have to remember what is CSR. MCQ questions can be coming here. All right. And exceptions are important, because there are a few things which may be considered as CSR and few things which will not be considered as CSR. Next, how is net profit arrived at? How much is the CSR that you have to contribute? 2% of your net profit. Of what? Average net profit of preceding 3 years. Don't forget. Don't forget. All right. 2% is calculated as an average of preceding 3 years. Now, what is net profit? They have defined. That definition has to be at the tip of your tongue, because I'm expecting a case study this time. They'll give you a numerical. All right. They'll give you a few figures and they'll ask you to arrive at the net profit for the purpose of your CSR calculation. So CSR is going to be all the net profits which you have considered, but does not include that profit which is arising out of any of the overseas, but shall not include the following: any profit arising out of the overseas branches, whether operated as a separate company or not, and any dividend which is received from any other company will not be considered, provided that in case of a foreign company, net profit shall be as defined under section 381 read with 191 and 198. All right. Then we went on to understand how do you apply or implement the CSR. Extremely important thing that you will have to remember is how much is the CSR expenditure. All right. Now, this CSR expenditure cannot have administrative overheads of more than 5%. What is administrative overhead? Managing the CSR. At times, it so happens that more than donating, you've spent on managing it. All right. Let's assume you need a team for the purpose of the CSR activities. Now you've hired me. Now my charges are extremely high. Assume. All right. Now you had to donate 1 crore, but you ended up paying me consultancy charges of 2 crores. Wow. Law says, wait, control. Your charges cannot be, your overhead, administrative overheads cannot be more than 5%. All right. Cannot be more than 5%. But 5% of what? 5% of your total CSR expenditure in itself. Understanding, everyone? Any profits which are arising out of your CSR activity, can I declare dividend out of it? No, wait, control. You're going to use it for the purpose of CSR activities itself. You can't do anything beyond that. All right. But very important, just like in your dividend chapter, if you remember, you're going to hold it for some time. If you are not able to use this, you're going to transfer it to a separate account, dividend. Do you remember? If you're not able to declare dividend, you're going to transfer it to your unpaid dividend. If you're not able to give, instead of declare, if you're not able to pay your dividend, you're going to transfer it to unpaid. From unpaid, it goes to IPF. Similar concept comes in your CSR as well. The moment you have decided the amount, if you're not able to spend it, please transfer it to another account called as unspent CSR account. Understanding? Yes, everyone. Next, then we went on to understand how long can you keep it in this? It's going to be for 6 months from the end of the expiry of the financial year. All right. Now, very important thing that you will have to remember is how much is the obligation? Every CSR, very important, subsection 3, clause A is talking about if your CSR obligation is 10 crores or more. All right. In the immediately 3 preceding financial years, then you're going to carry out something called as an impact assessment. All right, you're going to carry out something called as impact assessment. Do you remember we had discussed what is impact assessment? To find out, sir, how well have you done? You've spent, but have you just spent money for no sake? Or does it even have an impact on the society? This is applicable provided you have a CSR expenditure of 10 crores or more in the immediately preceding 3 financial years. Understood, everyone? Yes. Then we went on to understand what is going to be CSR, how much are you going to spend, what is going to happen in case of your transfers, what is the transfer to your unspent CSR active account. If you remember, we had spoken about ongoing projects. What are ongoing projects? What are not ongoing projects? What will come into picture if it is an ongoing project, and a couple of things revolving around that. All right. So this is, if you see, we've spent exactly 2 hours. I think I'm done with my time and the syllabus as well at a very macro level. I hope you've got a quick glimpse of the entire subject. I'm sure you might not have been able to remember everything, but to the extent possible, at least you might have been able to recollect whatever we've discussed. Now, I'm sure I am exceeding time. I know I'm exceeding time, but I'll take another 5 minutes and post that you can leave. Law has to be fact-oriented, provision-oriented. You can't write your own stories. This is not BCom. First thing. Next, how many days have you been given for your preparation? 5 days, 7 days? How many days? 6 days. More than enough. More than enough. According to me, 6 days is also too much. All right. No, nevertheless, you might think, sir, something's wrong with you. It's okay. 6 days. How you can plan? I will just put it on screen. I'll leave it to you. If it is convenient for you guys, you can follow, or else you have no option. So 6 days, friends. I'm sure it starts from today. All right. I'm not sure what is the pattern. Shetty sir might have definitely discussed this in detail for your preparation. Anyways, I'm going to spend from the law perspective. How do you approach this subject? All right. Chapter 1, or rather, I would use the unit wise. Unit 1, you have to finish it today, come what may. How many chapters are there? This preliminary, which I don't even consider as a chapter, right? Second, you have something called as incorporation. You have something called as your prospectus is covered in this. What else is covered? Incorporation, prospectus, share capital, right? Share capital. All right. So you have to finish this unit 1, friends, today at any cost. Sir, not possible, sir. There's too much. Share capital, fair enough. I'll just keep it aside as of now. All right. Ideally speaking, share capital has already been covered as a part of your other subjects. So nevertheless, if you are not able to finish share capital, it's absolutely fine. But ensure you finish these 3 chapters at any cost. Along with this, you have to finish General Clauses Act. All right. Along with this, you have to finish General Clauses. Chiller topic. Nothing high funded to do in General Clauses Act. All right. Next. Day 2, you're going to pick up your management and administration. I know I'm going a little away from our entire scheme of chapters. You're going to cover management and administration. You're going to cover charges. And if time permits, you can cover deposits as well. All right. Along with this, you're going to take up interpretation of statutes. You're going to take up interpretation of statutes. This becomes your day 2. I am going to be a little unrealistic because there will be, if I've given 3 chapters, you know, you'll end up covering only 1 chapter. So it's a little unrealistic, but it's possible. I have done it and I've covered the entire syllabus in 2 hours. All right. Day 3, you can cover your dividend. You can cover accounts. All right. And you can cover your Indian Contract Act. Day 3, done. Day 4, you can go ahead and cover your auditing. Let's assume share capital you were not able to finish in the on the first day. You can cover your share capital, and you can definitely cover your negotiable instruments. All right, negotiable instruments. I think there will be a spillover of a day. 6 days are there. Let's assume you're not able to finish the entire syllabus in 4 days. I think I've covered the majority chunk. All right. If you're not able to cover it within 4 days, 5th day is going to be your spillover day where you can cover the rest of the topics. All right. 6th day. I know you have your mock exam. You're going to write a mock exam, but even before mocking at yourself in the examination hall, please sit and write 1 mock test even before your mock test. On the 6th day, you write 1 paper, irrespective of what paper could be in your mock test, whoever is given, whatever is being given, you write 1 mock test every day going forward. Every day you're going to write for an hour. Every day you're going to write for an hour. All right. Okay. 1 hour is also a little unrealistic. If you feel, at least spend half an hour in writing. Guys, I've seen time and again, a lot of students complain, sir, we were not able to finish the paper. Is that the problem of ICAI? No, that's your foolishness. That shows that you don't even have appropriate control on your speed. ensure you write half an hour every day. 1 or 2 sheets you have to scribble down. All right. Ensure that scribbling does not mean a doctor's handwriting, because it will become a pattern in examination as well. If I can't read, how will I give you marks? Very obvious. If I can't read, how will I even give you marks? All right. I'm sure you might be thinking, Mehul sir should be the last person talking about handwriting. Please note, I'm using a digital pad. That's why I'm not able to write. All right. Doesn't mean that my handwriting is not good. Goes unsaid, it is not beautiful. Next. Every day, guys, I'm not sure if you follow this pattern. For me, this used to be the ritual. It was religiously followed. Any one paper which was the toughest paper for me. All right. I don't know which paper is the toughest paper for you. I read that every day for 2 hours. The first thing that I do in the morning every day is going to be that spending 2 hours with that girlfriend of mine, which is supposed to be the toughest to handle. All right. Goes unsaid. If you find something to be tough, you'll have to spend time with it. All right. It could be any subject. It could be law in itself. It could be IT. It could be SM. You figure out whichever paper it is. Spend 2 hours every day on that, because the more you have acquaintance of with that paper, the easier it is going to get. All right. I still remember IT was one of those papers. Of course, I shouldn't be talking, but it was bitter truth. All right. Not just at CA intermediate, it was one of the toughest papers for me, even at CA final. All right. Which was called as ISCA. I used to spend 2 hours. Come what may, kuch bhi ho jaye. Even if I'm not able to breathe today, I will spend 2 hours with it. All right. How? I don't know. The whole point is God's grace. The more time I spent on those papers, I was able to score 70 plus on it. 70 plus at a CA final is definitely possible. And I was able to do it because I would spend time on it. I still remember auditing used to be one of those papers where, because of the volume, I was never able to cover most of this during the sessions. All right. During my classes, when I was undergoing classes at intermediate stage, somehow I used to spend some time with that subject. God's grace was able to score more than what the first rank holder did at that point of time. All right. I got a decent score of 84, 85 in auditing back then itself. At intermediate, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the practice. That's what I want you to focus. All right. I want you to focus on the fact that the more time you spend with a particular thing, the easier it's going to get. As simple as that. All right. Having said that, take care of your health. Physically, if you're not able to stay with yourself, how will you even study? Now, for me, health does not mean only your physical. I'm talking about your mental health. Guys, for me, mental health is extremely important as much as your physical health is. Sir, my mind is running in the nearest bakery and I'm sitting with the book here. How will I even focus? Go feed yourself, come back and sit with the book. It's absolutely fine. All right. Take adequate breaks. The problem with this is we sit for hours together with absolutely straining back pains, but we don't want to go on a walk in the morning. 99% of you will have back pain issues. You agree, all right? Because you're sitting on the chair the whole day, it might have been tiring. It's absolutely fine. It's normal. Don't worry. But ensure that you take some physical activity. You keep yourself sane with these things. All right, go play. Easiest thing is go play. Not with your lives. Ensure that you play some sport to keep yourself a little more sane than what you can be. All right, guys. I follow this principle even today. Whenever I go to write any of the examination, I ensure that I spend some time with myself without touching any of the books. All right. So after every 55 minutes, 5 minutes, you please take a break. It's an investment for the next 55 minutes. No, sir, I am going to sit for 3 hours together. Come what may, I'm not going to lift my butt from that place. The problem is that 3 hours is absolutely fine, but you wouldn't have focused for more than 3 minutes there. This is the problem. This is the problem. Study for 25. So there are different ways. People take their own pace. 55 minutes, you sit. All right. Take a break of 5 minutes. The problem is what you do in the 5 minutes, you figure it out. You play guitar, you do whatever is convenient. You go dance, you do anything except for watching TV and your Netflix, because that's going to take 5 minutes to 50. All right. So I'll leave it to you. You're smart enough to take calls. Spend time with your books. Don't be the great golden hearted now to help any of your friends. No, not required. Now you got to be selfish because you're just left with September, October. September, we're standing on 7th. The first week of September is already done. You have hardly any time. You don't have to be Dhanvirkar now. If you should have been, you should have been long back. And if the other person really deserved it, you would have come long back. Now you don't have to spend time for him or with him. All right. Or her, as the case may be. The whole point that I'm trying to say is be selfish. Required. Selfish doesn't mean that someone really needs help and he wasn't able to make it at that point of time because of XYZ reasons. At that point of time, you can be a little considerate, but having said that, don't waste your time. Guys, spend at least 14 hours with your books. minimum 14 hours required out of 24 hours. Now all that you have is just to read, nothing else to do in life. 14 hours expected from every student. Goes unsaid. Time value of money and discounting is one chapter which you've learned. So you'll end up discounting 14 into 4 and you don't have to, I don't have to get into details. Having said that, all of you, trust me, this batch was one of the finest batches I've ever handled. It's been 4 or 5 years since I've been seeing students, but this batch was one of the finest batches. I see a rank holder in every eye here. Even if you have not switched on your cameras, of course. Each one of you are having that potent of getting rank. The problem is you are thinking, sir, he's talking about the other person in the camera on. No, I'm talking about you. Even though if you might not have switched on your cameras, guys, believe in yourself. If you can't believe in yourself, how will you even make difference? This reminds me of probably one last anecdote, which I want to quote. So a couple of years back, it so happened that, Steve Jobs was in a meeting, all right? And Steve Jobs' meetings were weird because he gave appointments in Lyft. He gave appointments in his tea breaks. He gave appointments to people when he was on his washroom breaks. I'm not kidding. He was that particular about his time. I'm not kidding. No exaggeration. If time permits, you should read his biography written by some guy called Isaac Hughes some other day. All right. So this guy, Steve Jobs, comes from a background, extremely humble background where no one ever understood tech. And a dropout. All right. Not a graduate from somewhere. He is a dropout. He was asked in one of the interviews, what keeps you going? Every time Apple comes up with its product, Apple has something really great to talk about. Yes. If you remember the first iPod, if you remember the first MacBook, if you remember the first iPhone, every product in itself has so much. I'm not a brand ambassador of Apple, neither I'm promoting here, but I'm talking about the one who might have thought about it. All right. The interviewer asked him, sir, what keeps you driving? His response was, you see a book, you see a pen, you see a stone lying right next to me. Both took birth. Both will fade away. In the time gap, what they have done is what is meaningful. It's the same way with me. I've taken birth. I will fade away. In the time gap, what I'm going to do is extremely important for me. And every day has to be a new day for me. I can't be cribbing about yesterday night that I wasn't able to study. It's okay, normal. If you weren't able to study yesterday, it's okay. Relax, study now. Don't waste time on mulling over those thoughts which you shouldn't have done yesterday. It's okay. It has happened. Now at least you spend time. The problem with us is 50% of the time we crib, 25% of the time we think about cribbing, and 25% of the time is already lost about not thinking. Don't do this mistake. Spend time with your books, spend time with yourself. Right now, the only thing which is important for you is your career. The moment you clear your intermediate, the world is going to open its doors for you. Right now, it isn't. Only after you clear your intermediate, you will have your job opportunity, your internship opportunities. And the better the mark, the better is the opportunity. You will have to stand out, not just with your marks, with your knowledge. All right. So you will have to spend time now. Friends, extremely competitive environment right now. Trust me, I take interviews, so I know how stringent, how difficult we get at interviews. All right. And we don't test them only based on their academics. We really want to understand what did you do while you were studying. We really want to understand how did you spend time with yourself when you were not having the confidence. There will be your learning curve effect. Today, if you're sitting, you will be in complete josh after this session. Everyone ready to spend 23 hours of the day only for studying. But you know, within half an hour, this 23 hours is going to result only into 3 hours. You know that. How do you keep yourself going at that point of time is extremely important. Keep yourself pushing. Don't get motivated, get inspired. Don't get motivated, get inspired. Motivation is what you're getting now. Sir, great. I'm going to stand for a rank now. After half an hour, sir, I'll just have my breakfast, sleep for a while because I got up early. Enough. More than enough to show how inspired and motivated you are. Guys, I'll give you, pick up one person around you, whoever gives you that kick, whoever it is, I'll leave it to you. It could be your parents, it could be your teachers, it could be your sibling, whoever it is. Keep his photo right next to your study table. Every time you're bogged down with something, see that picture and you see what sacrifices that person has done for you, more than enough to give you that inspiration. You really don't need those inspirational, motivational videos on screen. You need it around you. You need it around yourself. As simple as that. Not taking much time of yours. I know it's a weekday. Even I'll have to rush to the office. So having said that, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed. 2 hours, 2.5 hours that we've spent was an absolute pleasure for me seeing you guys, every rank holder. Don't carry that burden of getting, or you might have been extremely good till your CA foundation. Your parents might be pressurizing, your teachers might be pressurizing that you have to do. Don't carry that burden. Performance pressure is dangerous. Performance pressure is dangerous. Don't carry that pressure. Relax. You do your best. You give in your best. You understand as much as you can. And that's more than enough. Whether you get those marks later on or not is all secondary. Don't carry that performance pressure. I still recall you get 94, you get 96, you become a CA foundation topper, you are one of those distinction holders, blah, 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 blah. And your parents might be mulling over that every now and then, and that creates a little bit of performance pressure on you. They might be comparing with your siblings, blah, 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 blah. Relax. Let them do whatever they want to. They are right in their position. We are not going to judge. But we know we don't have to carry that burden ourselves. So let's enjoy the journey. Let's enjoy the journey, and that's more than enough for us. All right. With this, all the very best, friends. Let's catch up sometime soon. I'm definitely going to catch up one day before your examination. And goes unsaid, whatever we did in the last 2.5 hours, we are going to do in quick 15-20 minutes or maybe an hour. So is it possible? Everything is possible. We'll do it. Don't worry. You stay sane. You stay safe. Take care of yourself. Don't get into unwanted distraction. I'd suggest stay out of social media for the next couple of days because that has an impact on us. Let's accept it. Your friend has posted something of Pondicherry with an amazing girl or guy there, and you're still thinking, what am I doing in life? Relax. The immediate question is existential crisis that you start getting into. What am I doing in life? What is the purpose of life? For God's sake, don't get into all those zones, not required. And the only way is stay out of social media. Don't get into it. And I am telling, although I might be one of those tech savvies, but I still consider myself to be absolutely out of social media when I'm doing something really important. I'd suggest that to you. All right. With this, I come to an end of my session. Hope you guys enjoyed. Really happy to see each one of you today. And let's catch up sometime soon. All the very best to all the chartered accountants. See you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Thank you, sir.